time. So,
and no surprise, I guess, what we've seen on the board here. Like you're a pretty knowledgeable guy in terms of your preparation, your knowledge. Clearly, grandmaster. You're a big 1d4 player. Is that right?
Yeah, I basically was taught 1d4 as a child. I think because my brother played 1e4, and I didn't want to play the same thing as him, so I started off with 1d4. And I've tried other first moves as well, but that's very much my main weapon. I sometimes find you can play a little bit more on autopilot with 1d4, and you can still get interesting positions, but maybe not quite as theoretical. There's a bit more room to move around really for both colours, whereas 1e4 can be quite theoretical. So it's always been my preference, but obviously it depends on your own personal style.
By the way, we're just getting some love for you already, Nick Pert. I love your French DVD for chessbase.com. We can say that.
Okay.
So fantastic. So
thank you very much.
I mean, you've done some work for GingerGM, but you've also done a lot of stuff. So if people want to, we'll talk about this as the stream goes on. You've done a lot of stuff for ChessBase. I think we can say that because, you're here.
Sure, yeah, I've done quite a few DVDs for ChessBase. Actually, the French one was my first one for ChessBase, so I probably put the most effort into it, and it was quite a detailed one. And I know a lot of years have gone by since then, but a lot of the principles are the same. And I've noticed even Magnus Carlsen started to play the French quite a lot recently.
Was that because you got your DVD?
I think so, yeah. I think he just hadn't actually watched it before then, and suddenly was inspired.
Good afternoon to everyone who's joining us as the action takes place. So do you have a preference for facing, I mean it's a bit early doors, but when you go d4, do you feel more comfortable if your opponent goes knight f6 or d5?
I find knight f6 is quite a flexible move. You don't really know which way they're going to go, whether they're going to go for some kind of King's Indian type setup, or they still can play with d5, or they could play like this on the light square. So it's still quite early to tell.
Just going back, I was obviously hoping selfishly for a slightly suboptimal but move such as knight c3, the Jobava London, with the intention of going bishop f4 more than bishop g5. But of course, I have to say at this level, Simon wants to get a very decent position out the opening, and I think we both know that c4 is considered to be, probably other than knight f3, but the idea of blocking your c pawn is not a great idea. Simon's played c4, his opponent's played e6. I confidently don't expect him to play knight c3 here. I don't think he'd like. I think the Nimzini's got quite a good reputation for black nowadays, hasn't it?
I mean, when you look at the statistics online, if you look at the online database, the Nimzo Indian scores about 50% for black, which is really quite remarkable when you consider it's an absolute mainstream opening. So I think, obviously, lots of different ways of playing the Nimzo, but I think knight f3 is a good choice. And then black has wide.
And I believe he's actually played that move, which doesn't surprise me at all.
Options. She's gone for something quite solid, the Burgo Indian, and now you've really got a choice between knight d2, which is the more aggressive move, and bishop d2, which is the more positional move.
I assume you mean knight b to d2.
Yeah, exactly, knight b to d2. I mean, bishop d2 for me is quite an easy one just to play if you just want to get a position. I guess Simon's just thinking about it at the moment. Knight d2.
He has got knight d2.
Knight d2 is probably a stronger move objectively, but it can be a bit sharper.
Nick, let's just talk a minute about your knowledge. Like, if bishop d2, I mean, black's got a few options here. But a5, c5,
exactly.
e7.
Yeah, or
maybe take is an option.
There's lots of ways for black to play. I generally find if you're white and you don't really know what you're doing, you should play bishop d2 and then aim for an early kingside fianchetto, and that way you can't really go that wrong.
So just talk us through that. If you're white, you're not quite sure.
Let's say
play
they play,
bishop d2.
let's say they play, or even if they play, like, say, queen e7 or something.
Queen e7.
You can always just play g3 and just go for the fianchetto. There are different ways for black to play. Obviously, they can take a bishop. They can play knight c6. But there's lots of different ways they can play. Sometimes you end up putting your knight on c3 to try to make it a little bit harder for black to exchange the bishop. Again, black can play with c5, which is quite a strange move, not in this position, but instead of queen e7, or with a5, lead to lots of different structures. They're little nuances, but yeah, if you fianchetto and castle, you get into the game and then play your game. If you have a bit more time to prepare, you can try and squeeze out a little bit more if you want to. But yeah, I think that it's a decent opening for black. It's quite solid. Knight d2 is definitely the challenging move, and it actually gives black a little bit of a dilemma, because often white is aiming to play a3 quite early, and after a3 black has to decide whether to give up the bishop pair or whether to allow white to play e4.
Oh, so obviously, we just put a couple of moves on the board. I don't know. Let's just say black castles, for example.
Yeah.
If you went for an immediate A3,
then they've got to make that decision whether
if they drop back here, obviously, once again, not falling into the classic trap of getting your bishop trapped. Clearly, just to identify that. So after castles and A3, black's got an immediate decision to make.
Exactly,
right?
whether to take the knight or to drop back. If they drop back to E7, you can play E4. Okay, black can try and hit back with D5, and you do get quite sharp games. And probably Simon was hoping for something like that. B6 is probably slightly...
So let's just go back and let's just look at what's happened here. So after knight BD2, not too much thought, I don't think. We've got the move times coming in, not really, but black did play a very quick B6. So clearly not a surprise in any respect whatsoever. Ready on move 4. This is obviously a very well-known position. Probably
I would have thought Simon... Well, I mean, you don't really know what the opponent's repertoire is, but if they play Bogo Indian all the time, then it is a little bit scary because they might know, his opponent might know this position quite well. They haven't had a lot of time to prepare, so I don't really know her repertoire.
Simon spoke quite quickly here, but just could you talk us through the ideas behind black playing B6, please?
Yeah, sure. I mean, well, okay, you've got obviously two choices where to put the bishop, but normally you'd put it on B7 and then just try to control the E4 square. A lot of these light squared openings are actually a battle over the E4 square. White wants to try to play E4 and black tries to stop white from playing E4. So obviously white can play A3 at some point. They can try to play E4. They can try to get it in. Oh, he's gone for the fianchetto.
Well, let's just go slowly because the move just rushed in there. So
sure.
white played B6. Black played B6 obviously. White responded in I would say in kind with this move G3. Bishop B7, the bishop fianchettoing or fianchettoing, whichever you prefer, on this long diagonal, and white very rapidly has this tension, and the moves coming in thick and fast. Castles.
Yeah, I mean, one idea. I mean, I guess at some point Simon's going to challenge that bishop. One idea that comes up in this type of Queen's Indian positions is if you can ever play the move D5 as white. You can't really get it in here because the knight on D2 is quite badly placed. But sometimes you can play D5, and after they take the pawn, you play something like knight H4, for example, and you can get some pressure on that.
So you can take advantage of what you're sort of saying is if we get the move in here with pawn takes. You're saying not in this position, but knight H4 reveals the power of the pin against the pawn on D5. However, like you said, with the knight on D2, there's no obvious follow-up, so it's not quite a possibility in this situation. I
mean, the knight on D2 is actually slightly awkward because if the knight was on B1, not only would you have that D5 idea, but another idea which you sometimes get in Bogo Indians is to play the move C5 sometimes as well. And when they take the pawn, then you play A3 and
so C5 is white.
Sometimes you can do this, and if they play A3 and try to cause the bishop a few problems.
So for example, if we just made a move on the board, I know it's not white's move here, but let's just say H6, C5. The idea is, I guess, take, and then here you might appreciate we're not talking about specific moves. We're just talking about ideas here.
You can sometimes do that, especially if black plays A5. But with the knight on D2, those ideas probably aren't going to work again because black can play bishop takes D2. So yeah, the knight on D2 is slightly awkward in some senses, and although it's a bit of a free developing move, it is slightly in your way.
So does this move? I mean, I suppose this move won't surprise you, but I think it obviously Simon's captured on D5, and black does have 4 reasonable. Well, essentially, I'm not saying they're all good, but black has 4 ways to recapture this pawn on D5. I've always felt in these positions that, I'm reluctant. It's possible. I think it's probably the best move, but I'm reluctant to play E takes D5 because I just sort of feel to myself, if black responds with E takes D5, which I feel might be the best move, I just always feel that I've sort of stymied my bishop a little bit on B7.
Yeah, you can block it in, but it can also be quite good for controlling the centre of the board. Obviously,
going back to your point about the control over
D5 would lose a piece of it.
Okay, so queen takes D5 would be a problem.
Yeah.
Knight H4 is that?
I think so. Knight H4, Knight U1 would be quite strong for white. Yeah.
Okay, so queen takes D5. Despite what I said, that they all have. They all have some merits. Queen takes D5 has more demerits than merits. That's why I've got you along there. That's why we pay you the big bucks,
exactly.
just to show me. We don't have an engine running, of course. Even if we had an engine running, I'd probably miss this. But going back to the situation, I suspect black will play pawn takes D5 because a move such as knight takes D5, I guess, that gives white
Yeah, White's got the
Potentially
option to
a
play
move
for. I mean, I guess I don't know whether White will play a3. I mean, it feels like he might challenge the bishop after, say, knight takes d5, rather than playing e4 straight away. But I would be tempted to challenge that bishop. But certainly, once you take with a piece, then White's going to try and play e4 at some point, you'd imagine. So e takes d5 is more.
It seems like
solid.
it seems like a very solid move. And I guess, do you have any options of maybe stationing a knight on e4 at any point, anytime soon, or is that a little bit?
Yeah, that could definitely be an idea. I'm trying to think of the best plans for White here as well.
I was going to ask you. Funny enough, I was going to ask you that. What would you? Because how if you must have? Do you play? Let's just go back to talk about you from the early moves. Would you play? What do you play in this situation?
So I normally play knight f3.
And then after bishop d4?
I have played knight d2 a couple of times, but I mainly play bishop d2 here and just play the more solid option.
Oh, so of course.
Although I know knight d2 is it has got a better percentage score on the database. It probably is a stronger option and just requires a bit more homework.
But you can understand. Okay. Well, Simon's always talks about big legs, but you can understand why Simon, I guess, against his opponent, who in principle is 200 points rated lower than him. We don't know the strength of her. She could be obviously 2350 in principle, but he's quite happy to keep the tension.
Sure.
Because it's fairly clear that this move precipitously by Black would just give up a bishop.
Sure.
Give up the bishop pair without much benefit. B6, as we discussed, G3, both fianchettoing. Castles and D5. Simon very quickly took, and I just going to go back to live board because I find it hard to believe she's played a move when not being at the board. It would be quite impressive. I think she's thinking, well, you can see from the live picture, Nick, she's not actually at the board.
I think
whether she's gone for a comfort break already, or
I guess that this might be part of his preparation. I mean, he's playing very quickly, and like I said before, you normally can guess in an afternoon round what your opponent will play because they'll generally stick to what they know. But yeah, e takes d5. Well, I'm trying to think what ideas you might play as well, because that knight on f3, you've got a couple of options. You potentially could come into e5. You also might go to h4 in some positions. If e takes d5, would you play a3 for White anyway and just challenge the bishop?
I'm not playing anything, to be honest with you. I'm just looking at the chat. By the way, we've got a conglomerate. I don't know if that's the right word. The term for people who've lost to both your brother and his children, your niece and nephew. And
has anyone lost to all four of us?
Oh, that's a really good question, actually. Has anyone played? That's a really good question.
I don't know,
has anyone played both? So, for those who don't know, Grandmaster Nick Pert alongside me, his twin brother, a incredibly strong, very strong player, an international master, Richard Pert. He has two very promising young children who are Max and Nina, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
And so, yeah. Do your children play chess at all?
Not to this sort of level. So,
but his kids are kids. I don't know if that's just a terminology.
Yeah, they're
pretty good, aren't they?
They're quite into it. I think they're quite decent players.
Good afternoon to Chris Baker, just very quickly.
It's quite good actually, because Nina's it's not so much a big deal anymore, but she's got the same initial as me, so I don't know if that confuses people who are preparing for me.
I see. That's quite nice. Are you worried that in a couple of years' time you might not be the strongest N Pert on the planet?
Maybe not in a couple of years, but there might come a day when it happens. I did once play against someone, and they prepared for my brother instead of me.
Oh right.
I think it was. I don't know how you pronounce it. Nebo or something.
Nebo. No, I don't know. The Dutch guy. Is
the Dutch guy. I think he was quite strong, maybe 2600.
So did you say after the game, "I'm really surprised what you did there"? And you went,
because I
played this all my life.
Exactly, I played the French, which I had always played at that stage, and he said he was expecting Sicilian Dragon, which is what my brother played. I said, okay.
Fun enough, your brother's beaten me in the Sicilian Dragon. I tried to prepare for him, and that didn't work out too well. And I've obviously played you at least once or twice that I remember. But let's get back to the game. Simon's opponent has returned to the board, and let's just look at the live position. He's still thinking, actually, about this capture. Is it? I would have thought he takes d5, although it doesn't feel lovely to me. Is kind of the only move, or is it not?
Well, I thought you said you would take with a piece. Did you?
I said I'd take with the queen until you pointed out. I said I'd take the queen because I like the idea of trying to deliver an early checkmate on g2. Unfortunately, as you pointed out, the backfires on black very quickly in this position. So.
I mean, I guess there are other options, but taking with the pawn is the most likely. That's what she played, is it?
So e takes d5 has, I guess, unsurprisingly happened. So as White here, in temporary it just kind of looks not awkward, but
it's slightly awkward this night on D2, isn't it? It's just not quite where you want it.
Is there any idea that we can eat? Was that ridiculous, or is it a bit?
I feel like we must be a tempo down on some
sensible
mainline
game,
positions if we play knight b1. I'm trying to think how we would use the knight. I guess you could go knight e5 and then the other knight to f3. That might be.
So you're saying, like, for example, we go here.
That might be an option.
And of course, at some point, we do want to release our dark square bishops. So
yeah.
we can't keep
Could you consider somehow
apparently this is true. We're hearing a nice idea that after this, just Victor obviously knows his stuff.
He knows his stuff, does he?
Have you heard this is an idea? Knight D to C4 here.
Oh wow, yeah.
Just
nice
taking
move.
like this is a very nice idea. That's nice to put on the board. So if White goes knight E5, the bishop's kind of done its job here, hasn't it? To a degree.
Yeah.
You know, it could get hit by A3. Of course, it can retreat at that point. But the idea of the bishop coming out early to check was maybe to induce bishop D2.
Sure.
And now the knight's a bit awkwardly placed. If the bishop does drop back, White might, I don't know how, if this is more visual or serious as a move, but
it looks interesting. Yeah, might come back to E3 and F5 later on. You know,
of course. So if the bishop wants, if Black wants to preserve the bishop pair, then by dropping back to E7, maybe this knight has a nice little route in to F5, like you said.
Might do, yeah. Just try not to blunder it. That's the
Don't talk to me about blundering. No, I like to blunder stuff, but they're not my pieces, as they say. So,
yeah.
So just to let you know, I'm joined by Grandmaster Nick Pert here. We're watching after the drama. Simon looks pretty composed, like you said. How did you say you'd feel mentally about this?
I'd feel quite good. I'd feel quite pumped up if I got away with a whole point. Yeah, then I'd feel. It put you in quite a good frame of mind,
because
I would say.
In a 9-round Swiss, and especially like whatever his aspirations are in this tournament, the difference between being on 2.5 out of 5 and 3.5 out of 5 is
enormous, isn't it? Yeah.
It's just kind of like 2.5 out of 5. You know, you kind of need to win 4 in a row just to even have any ideas of like that ending on 6.5 out of 9. You might have to do that. What's called the back, backdoor way, in the Swiss system.
I just wouldn't really have that much motivation to to play really hard if I had 2.5 out of 5. It's a bit of a momentum game, isn't it, chess?
I mean, but just
when you're winning,
you're rated very strongly, aren't you? 25's some crazy number which I can't even count to.
I don't know. It's sort of trending down at the moment.
That's deflation. That's deflation.
I'm not sure. It's probably age and deflation, but it's slowly going down. I think I'm maybe. Well, I lost a game recently, so I've probably gone under.
Well, you lost a game?
I know. It happens sometimes.
What?
Well, I actually got a. Well, I'd say
mouse slip, was it?
I got like a lost position at the opening actually. And
against Neil McDonald.
I was just because. Well, actually, I think I saw what Laura says on the chat. I feel like we're a little bit handicapped because they knew which board I was going to be on, and we're not as good at keeping our options open.
Well, no, people know that game. I'm not sure knight d4 was the best move in the world, but there we go.
I was. I just was trying to just make a move, but yeah, obviously he played brilliantly in the opening, but then he did actually play quite badly, I think, after that. But I just used up so much time in a lost position that I just got a lower time, but probably I should have just played quicker. But I saw his winning lines, so I didn't really want to play the moves. I probably should have just gambled anyway. I mean, it's quite bad when you get low on time. You can't really save any positions, so sometimes you just have to play something even if you know it's losing. Just do what Simon did and you might be able to recover.
Indeed. By the way, looking at the chat, Chris Baker, who we both know very well, is saying, did Simon miss a winning move this morning? He did exactly that. Where were you, Chris? Yeah, Queen C8 was just winning pretty much. He was winning a piece the night. Simon's... Can I just show you that, Nick, quickly? I'll just go back. As there's a lull in proceedings, I'll just try and go back to find... if I try this, we go to round 5. Just look at Simon's game. We won't look at the end of it. But going back to proceedings, this happened. Let's flip the board around. For those of you who weren't here this morning, Simon starting to get interesting. Simon starts to get on top. A few moves happened. White went with Queen H6, which probably is not a great idea because White could also be in danger of trapping their own queen. A few sensible moves happened. Simon went knight f4, attacking the rook on d3, which retreated. f5 is an excellent move. Knight f3, eyeing up some ideas of knight takes e5. After f takes e4, White very quickly blundered with knight takes e5. And quite remarkably, and I've not seen a position exactly like this, Black had the opportunity of just going Queen c8, which holds the c6 pawn, and this knight suddenly is very short of squares, meaning it really doesn't have any.
Yeah, that's a strange position, isn't it?
It's a very strange. It's incredible. But by the way, there are some little sting in the tail. Like, for example, if white goes knight f3, taking would be a mistake because it allows rook into e7. However, after knight f3, the queen could have come to g4.
I think you would have found that move.
I'm pretty sure. The surprising thing we were talking about in the chat was that, and it was Lawrence Cooper who pointed this out, it's quite hard to see retreating moves sometimes. But some did actually retreat to queen to e8.
Oh, okay.
And obviously allowing the G4 square. So it's quite strange. It's not the fact that I was looking at ideas, for example, initially like queen e6, sacrifice the pawn, just so we can drive in to G4.
Yeah.
Then it dawned upon me, we can have the best of all worlds by just going queen c8.
Yeah, that's a nice move.
There's maybe a hard
everything
one
just
to
about
find,
holds together, doesn't it? So
just go. Anyway, that was what happened this morning. Just to thank you, Chris, for joining us. So Simon did make life particularly difficult for him in that situation. We'll go back to his live position now. And Nick, fantastic.
There you go.
That's why. I'm sorry. I'll try not to make it hackneyed. This is why we've brought you along and pay you the big bucks to spot moves like about the money. Checks
don't know about either.
But this is, so you're absolutely right. What Simon has dived in. I'll say dived in, but with knight to e5.
I mean, he's just got to do something about this d2 knight, doesn't he? He has to somehow improve it.
And so we've got this idea of like the classical, supporting that knight on e5, I guess. Also this very nice, interesting idea if black does drop back. Do you know what? I'd like to see this on the board. I assume,
but without even playing a3, they just voluntarily play bishop d6.
Yeah, I was just thinking, because I just want to see this knight d to c. I've never seen this idea before, and it's not just like a one-trick pony move where you make the move and then it's like, black moves out of the way, you have to go back. You do actually have a much better route into the position, don't you?
Yeah.
So, this is a live position. Let's go back to exactly a live position. White's played 95. I mean, I guess I know the answer to this. Who would you rather be? I mean, I know it's early doors.
It's very early. I mean, it's slightly. I'd slightly rather be white here, but obviously it's just a position, isn't it? It's not bad for black by any means.
There's nothing too much happening here. Well, sorry, there's obviously a lot going to develop in the position, but there's nothing crazy. The fireworks haven't begun just yet, have they? So
yeah, I mean, for black, they've got to decide about their b8 knight, whether they bring it to d7 or whether they. Well, it's hard to play c5 without retreating your bishop, isn't it? Because you somewhat isolate your bishop, so you can't really play the move c5.
Would c5 be almost immediate blunder to a3?
I feel it'd be dubious to play it now, yeah.
So explain to us why you think that would be so black would like to maybe challenge the d4 pawn in the centre, undermine white's structural position, but why do you think this would be a mistake?
Just because your dark square bishop becomes a little bit isolated, and white has the option to either...
So it can't retreat.
Yeah, either force you to take the knight by playing a3, or I don't know if they can do anything even more sinister, but somehow trying to trap it.
Is it? Sorry, can I be naive? I know this bishop's looking uglier by the second, but
I mean, as a minimum, you've got knight b3.
Oh, of course, you might have, that's very
might
good,
have something stronger.
Yeah, sure. But knight b3
or knight c4.
That's a lovely idea. That's brilliant, actually. Knight c4. That's a brilliant idea. Yeah. Just to combine the best, just to show you're really switched on. Yeah. It's like come and have a go if you think you're hard enough. Yeah. It's not going to work out too well for you. So knight c4, lovely spot, obviously. But knight b3 on the calm level. But either way, so it's kind of getting worse by the second for that black dark square bishop.
If you want to play c5, you probably need to try something like rook e8, bishop f8, that kind of idea. And then once your bishop's back on f8, then try to play c5. But
yes, this sort of classic idea that the bishop does a nice job here. It's back home. It can come out later.
Yeah.
Apparently, according to Victor. So apparently I get the impression this bishop d6 voluntarily is not a great idea, but Caruana's played it.
Oh, has he? Okay.
Yeah. So apparently
he didn't spot knight c4 then.
Well, apparently he did spot knight c4, but I don't think he would have played it otherwise. Like you say, at least force white to spend a somewhat unnecessary, not an unnecessary tempo, but at least force white to force your bishop back before volunteering, this sort of wow, Nick Pert's in the house. He is in the house. Streaming from a secret location next to Godwin Station.
But maybe black will play knight d7, do you think?
I think it's probably a sensible. I mean, is it really important, do you think, for black to get c5 rather than sort of go passive?
You don't want to really allow white's knight to land on c6. That's one thing you probably would try to avoid, or white to somehow stop you moving that c pawn at all. I mean, there's still a few more moves to go before a rook comes on the C line, but yeah.
So you're saying, for example, let's put in a couple of like random moves. It's white to go, obviously.
Yeah,
like,
if black's
just say like this, for example.
slow,
Just say very slowly. You're saying that this is now a very important concept. It could be an important idea.
I think that if white got the knight in there, it'd be a bit uncomfortable for black, really. And,
obviously, it's like, what's this bishop doing? The C7, the bishop's here, the queen's under. So like, this is maybe a concept that white should have in mind.
I think, that would be quite uncomfortable. Black needs to sort of react a bit more quickly than this, otherwise.
I appreciate I put in some sort of slightly random. Random moves. By the way, once again, well, just tell us what's going to happen next in the game, because knight b7 was played. So I'll just sit back. By the way, I did do a good 5-hour stint this morning.
That's good. That's
most of it on my own. So I feel that I've now very happy to have you alongside me. That's very kind. But so you can just tell us what white's going to play next. Can I guess?
Well, I think it's going to be. Karan actually won against Dubov, did he, with bishop d6?
Okay, so hold on. This I was going to say this move surprises me. But you know what I think his idea is?
He's going for the knight c6, isn't he?
I was going for knight c6. I was thinking he was going for bishop d6, knight c4.
Oh, maybe that as well, yeah.
I said, no,
he's keeping all his options open.
But let's go back to your brilliantly perspicacious point, which is that this idea obviously attacks the bishop on b4. Yeah. I know it's not lost on you. But there might be some ideas of a very quick.
Maybe it's a good move. Actually, it gives black a bit of a problem here as well. They've got to think quite carefully now.
And look, if we can see her on stream, I don't know if that's her normal, dynamic. Do you know what's your sort of style over the board? Do you have your head in your hands, or do you?
It really depends on how the game's going.
Oh, really? Okay. So do you play poker? I mean, that's the obvious comparison, isn't it? Like some people say they have a poker face, and it was this morning trying to guess the body language of Simon and his opponent. It wasn't hard to see after Simon was brought out the swindle. His last shots that he had of Queen C3, his opponent only had one legal move and just couldn't bring himself to play it for a couple of minutes. He really, I mean, that's not really a body language read, is it?
Yeah.
But the poor guy was just like, I don't even want to play. I don't even want to, I think he had to come to terms with what he'd done in this situation.
And so, how was Simon's body language at that point?
I think he was I think you know what he's like. He's a gentleman. He's not going to be like, he did pick himself up a little bit, but he's certainly not going to be like disrespectful to his opponent. And I think we've all had situations in chess. Maybe you've had your ups, you've had your downs.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I guess, if you can't be a good winner, good luck being a good loser. I mean, I think there's a lot of concepts in that.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, we all like to win, but now as I've got older, it's not that I got less bothered by it, but I just don't let it affect me. I just realise sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. That's life. I think
there's a Romanian athlete who once said, I love to win, but I'm no stranger to defeat.
Sure.
And I think that kind of like, to me, that sort of resonated with me as a comment. Just sort of suggesting, look, you've got to handle. I'm good at what I do. I've experienced the highs. Yeah. I will have to accept that there will be some lows along the way. It's not one-way traffic.
Sure.
Even for someone like Magnus Carlsen, he's an incredibly competitive person.
Yeah.
But he's got to suffer some defeat sometimes, and you can't just throw your toys and become a spoiled brat or whatever.
Do you think people will take defeats better as they get older?
I think they do, actually.
I think they do.
And also, you have more experience to draw upon, don't you?
Yeah.
Not just happening. I sort of learned to handle defeat at an early age due to the multitudinous number of times that I was confronted with those situations. So, I felt like that. This looks like, let's go back to
it's actually quite an interesting move, this Queen A4. I don't know if it's preparation or not, but it's...
So I don't know if anyone wants to. I'm not going to start flicking around the screens.
You can see the ideas. Yeah. Anyway, it's got black thinking, because you're worried about knight c6. Obviously, you're worried about the bishop. Where you're going to put this bishop.
I've got a feeling. I don't know which after bishop d6. Sorry to cut in on you. I don't know whether this is the better move, but I've got a feeling this is like just
knight c4
begging to be played almost, just as a. Yeah. But I wonder what happens after knight c4 if the bishop just drops back.
Yeah, I was looking to see if there's any tactics there after knight c4, but probably not.
Maybe the like knight c6s, and maybe you don't have to rush it. I don't know. Maybe bishop d6 won't be played, of course, but.
Yeah, anything about going knight c6 early is obviously your rook isn't quite ready to come to c1, so you haven't got that much support for it. That's the only thing. So you you might want to try and get
And I guess
the knight
if
and bishop out first.
If bishop comes back d6, even if we play this move and the bishop drops back, sooner or later black might support this bishop on b7, which then this knight will then be hanging. I'm not sure how much sense it makes. I don't know if takes as any conceptually idea. What do you expect black to play here? I might expect black to play bishop d6, by the way, whether it's good or not.
Yeah, possibly. Trying to think whether you would go bishop e7 straight away or.
No, that might avoid any of this. Well, this knight could still move here, of course.
It could do,
but it doesn't have the added. Excuse me, it doesn't have the added benefit of trying to exchange off.
Yeah.
Black start square bishop, grab those two bishops. Is there any sense to move like a5, or is it just?
I mean, yeah, it could be a good move. I guess White's always got the option to play a3 if they want to. Maybe that would slightly favour black. Do you think having those moves? I'm not sure, to be honest.
I don't think it's a particularly good move. I don't think it can benefit. I don't think it's necessarily a big problem for black's position, but I don't think it benefits black particularly playing a5.
Yeah.
Is that your opinion?
They might play it, but.
I mean, you can always see that these two moves happening and then back to the status quo almost, but with black. And I suspect maybe a5 is slightly less beneficial to black. I mean, it seems to gain little bit of space, but doesn't really do a great deal, does it?
Yeah, I feel like White's one or two moves away from really.
Hold on, is this right? So let's just go through this because Victor's switched on. So if black were to go bishop d6, knight dc4, this lovely little trick exploiting this pin. So it's not, the bare minimum would win this brilliantly strong light square bishop. Apparently after this pawn, is this right? How can knight e3 and you already win d5? I'm not quite sure. What am I missing? Oh, we can't. Obviously can't go c6. This is not even under attack right at the moment, is it? I mean, there's two attackers, there's two defenders. Am I missing something?
You're threatening to take on d7.
Oh, you're going to take on d7. Yeah. Of course, the knight removes it, and if queen takes, and the knight has to vacate. The knight's effectively a knight f6 is overloaded.
Yeah.
In the moment. And obviously,
it's
knight
kind of
takes
amazing
doesn't work.
If that's winning a pawn already, isn't it?
Apparently, I think it probably will be. If Victor says it will be. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, black can't really get out. I guess black can't really get out of this, or I don't know if this gets out of it, but it doesn't.
Yeah, that's a bit desperate, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very desperate. Yeah. I mean, it's like you can't be playing moves like knight. If you have to play a move like that, it's gone wrong, hasn't it?
Yeah. Because also you're also kind of threatening knight c6 as well, and just win the pawn that way. I guess that's another one.
No, so just like a knight c6 and then takes, and then
we might win it later.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. It's not going to be defended anytime soon, is it?
Yeah, that's another idea.
So this queen a4, understandably, I don't know. As I say, we're not familiar with Simon's opponent.
Yeah,
he played it very quickly, so I think he maybe knows this position.
Yeah.
I wonder if anyone knows from the database if this position has been reached before.
I mean, with Simon, I've always got the impression that he sort of gives off this persona like he doesn't really care. He's just kind of winging it, but he just does actually know quite a lot of theory. So I don't know if you have that same feeling. It's sort of like
he knows.
The kid in school who said that they've never done their homework, but they always get ace the test. So
I know, for example, I know that it didn't work out for him. Well, the opening kind of worked out, but against Emre Chan, forgive me as well. Obviously, that was we got the exact position we wanted, or that we discussed on the board 7-8-4, going back to his round, I believe 4 game. It didn't quite work out for him here, but that was the position we wanted.
Yeah, no.
So it's like kind of like so he was doing his homework. He played this sort of like E4 C3 Sicilian Alapin, whichever it is.
I think that's what I mean. I think he's better than.
He lets on.
Then he lets on.
He's quite a good player as well, isn't he?
Oh, very talented player.
Brilliant player, of course.
Yeah, very, very good player.
So going back to his position, Black's got. So I've got to respect his. I don't know how old his opponent is. Probably should have done a bit more research. We're too busy trying to set up our green screen, which I did effectively, but no more than that. But his opponent, I like the fact that she's got the respect for this Queen A4 move. She's already switched on to the idea that you don't blitz out a move such as Bishop D6 or Bishop B7 or takes. She realises that something's kind of going on a little bit here. So she needs to make a decision. Obviously, that's the nature of chess, but she needs to make a pretty competent decision in this situation.
Yeah,
and it might be important, how she plays, because I think as Victor pointed out, this might be a really bad move.
I mean, she goes Bishop E7, say.
Yeah, okay.
What are you going to play now for White? I mean, if Knight C6 can Black play Queen E8, is that so bad?
So they're against a Knight C6.
Can you get away with Queen E8?
Well, again, I always just feel that is this not even if
it is worse, but I'm just trying to get a position which isn't hopeless.
Apparently, Victor was saying as well that it has been played before. This Bishop D6 has been played before. According to the engines, after this, Black does just sort of suck it up, give up the bishop.
Yeah.
Apparently, in the practical games, White's doing very well, got a good score in these positions. I can understand why, because you've got the two bishops, no problems for White. It looks pretty calm, it looks pretty good. Nothing to see here other than just two bishops. So his opponent was born in 2007, which suggests that she is 15 or perhaps 16 or in that region, depending on when her birthday is.
Yeah, but I think this is one thing about this whole Bogo Indian, this knight d2 move, is that there's a high chance you end up giving up your bishop for a knight, which is probably why knight d2 is a stronger move than bishop d2.
But we're talking about small margins, aren't we? We're talking about one sort of preference to sort of going to certain positions or the dynamics of certain positions. So, I mean, there's obviously going to be a load of world-class grandmasters who play bishop d2.
Yeah, of course.
Other than yourself,
it's
of
more,
course.
It's more solid, isn't it? Definitely those lines where White where the black bishop drops back to e7 and White plays e4 and Black plays d5. Those lines are really, really crazy.
Quite sharp, aren't they? Yeah.
They can be very sharp. Some of those lines, yeah.
So, understandably, Simon's opponent is thinking about how to meet. So, I suspect she's surprised by this, Queen. It just generally looks like, I say surprised, maybe a strong word, but it feels that that's probably an appropriate word. It feels that, this idea, this clever idea, combining some ideas of, asking this bishop the question, targeting the c6 square, is a really nice idea. It's done it so immediately with Queen a4.
Maybe she will play a5. I don't know if it's.
But then, of course, does this not just even if we just interposed a5 and a3, are we not back in the same situation as Black though?
I just feel like maybe that slightly favours Black. I don't know if that's.
But in principle, what I was going to say is let's put the moves on the board. So a5 then the bishop, a3.
Actually, there's a one position after bishop d6, knight c4. Have you got b5 then?
What?
I don't know. Queen b5 and bishop a6.
Oh right, yeah, okay.
Slight change. I don't know if that works or not. That might work.
This definitely looks like. So hold on, let's just look at this position here. Yeah, this definitely is going to work. Well, no, I say definitely. This looks like a brilliant idea, Nick. So let's just work out. So that definitely can't happen. Yeah, of course, that can't happen in this position.
Yeah, b5 you just take
because you take, and the bishop on a6 is not defended by the rook on a8. So this is actually quite an important. Doesn't mean we're not saying that a5 is. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. We're not saying a5 is the best move, but it certainly has this brilliant little idea against if White were to play a3, bishop d6, knight c4 looks like actually loses the game for White as opposed to
it would be
unfortunate. Yeah, it would be very unfortunate. Mind you, the ups and downs of Simon's games this morning. It seems that I'm not saying that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't. I've got a feeling she won't.
Maybe
I don't think she won't play a5 though. For some reason, not. Maybe she's good enough to play this a5, a3 and see
after knight c6
whole idea.
That's the problem. Is what do you play after knight c6?
Okay, let's go through that. So a5, let's not worry about a2. You're saying let's go. So knight c6. This is a
because we are hitting the bishop, aren't we?
So you're saying obviously a5 might be lost if Simon switches off, but he's unlikely to do that.
I'm trying to think where you play because you say you're threatening to win a pawn now as well, aren't you? So
if Black does this sidestep with the queen, I know you wouldn't do it here. Then knight takes.
I think you just win a pawn. Against queen e2, I guess actually, but maybe she's analysing queen e2.
Maybe there's a possibility. Yeah. We might not have to take the bishop straight away, I guess, but then maybe we're inviting the bishop to drop back to d6 because we obviously no longer have. Having put on knight in the way of this diagonal,
because
we don't
also
like
that knight on
c4.
The knight on d7 might move, and then we're in quite an awkward pin, aren't we? So
of course, it's a nice point. Let's just carry on with that. So Black might have some ideas of I don't know, knight b8 might be an immediate threat here. So take advantage of this somewhat loose queen on a4.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. Actually, maybe a5 is interesting.
Okay, by the way, so she has let's catch up with the live thing. She has played apparently,
bishop e7, okay.
So, which kind of I guess
solid, I guess, isn't it?
So what's the issue with knight c6 here?
Yeah, that was one line that we looked at, wasn't it? I think that was one we considered.
Oh, of course, you mentioned it. Sorry,
and just tried to get a position.
So you're not worried about. So just accept that you.
Just accept you've got the bishop.
You haven't got the bishop pair.
At least you've got something quite stable.
And I guess you've got solid enough position. You're controlling. Yeah. Because obviously with the bishop pair, White would like to break it open.
Yeah.
To get those bishops as active as possible. But of course, it's going to be hard to do that. It's going to be hard to make some pawn exchanges here.
Yeah, it's quite a good practical decision, probably, isn't it? This bishop e7, because like we said, you don't want to really invite knight c4, do you? And the other move's a bit more risky, so maybe it's the sort of safer option. Does Simon have anything else other than knight
Let's
c6?
just go back. Let's go back to live position. I'm just engaging in chat. Apparently, Simon got up to walk around and appear in everyone else's stream.
Oh, he was.
He's not content in being like the subject at the main event of his own stream. He's like decided that he needs to sort of like stream crash.
Does he have like a GingerGM sign and hold it up next to their cameras?
Photo stream bomb it. I think stream crashing is a lovely idea.
Yeah.
Todd so thank you very much for raiding with a party of 36. Welcome to all the raiders. Just to let you know, I'm the host, Blair Connell, but I'm being joined more importantly by Grandmaster Nick Pert. We are watching round 6, I believe it is, of the Reykjavik Open. Simon Williams, after his travails this morning, is trying to have a little bit more of a calm, afternoon, maybe trying to put some gentle pressure on his relatively young talented Indian opponent, no doubt. And we're joined the position where you're quite familiar with these types of positions, Nick.
Well, yeah, I think he's trying to look for a way to not put a gentle pressure on, isn't he? I guess if he wanted. Well, what do you think? If he plays knight c6, he can just go for like a small edge, can't he? I don't know if he.
No, that's what's trying to mean. I think
if he's got something, if he's trying to look for something more, I don't know.
So pass pawn, so black position feels a bit passive. Is that a fair comment?
It looks a little bit passive, but it's quite solid as well. I think one or two more moves, and black can kind of unravel.
So let's just say white plays knight c6, okay? And you're saying let's just go through a few moves.
Sure,
Queen e8, knight. Do we take straight away just to avoid any?
I think.
Also,
otherwise
always
the
check.
bishop might move, and then you could end up in an awkward situation.
So maybe they've now got this bishop d6 just to avoid and now this knight might be struggling for squares. I guess.
Little bit, yeah.
And also we don't have once again this trick because we've interposed this diagonal. So knight takes, but it's a nice move anyway for white, isn't it? Get the bishop there. Knight takes, queen takes.
And then I guess you have to do something about your e pawn now, don't you? So whether you go e3 or.
Would you like to play, what would you then do with this? Maybe you've got.
You'd have to get the bishop. You have to get the bishop out.
But then the queen looks a bit awkward there if we play b3, doesn't it? So that pin would be
the other
annoying.
option, something like rook e1, I guess, is it? And just try to.
So apparently we're being told, and we do like this. As I say, we'd know this. We'd be more like to know. So we did have apparently e4 isn't it? That might be an idea. Just
that
feels like a sign.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's the kind of move he might go for. Yeah, rather than playing it slowly.
I mean, that does require quite a lot of calculation in terms of suddenly everything starts. The knight here looks good. Of course, we always have the bailout in the short term of knight takes bishop check. Yeah. But obviously there's a lot of captures potential.
Yeah, that could get really wild, couldn't it?
You get wild quite quickly, but Simon won't back down. If he sees a good continuation, he'll back his judgment to calculate, won't he?
So is e4 is actually is that
apparently it's a really good idea.
Is that a known move? Is it?
Yeah, it's well, I don't know how this position's been reached before, but it's clearly right up there in terms of moves. Yeah. So probably is the best move, I would imagine, where it's being suggested.
Yeah.
The best engine move, but it does require a lot of.
Yeah, that's more his style, isn't it? Rather than trying to just take a sort of tiny edge.
There, but So I assume that So definitely So just explain to us why black wouldn't want to lose this bishop.
I think it's just that the light squares are going to be quite weak, aren't they? And the d5 pawn is potentially vulnerable as well. So this
queen's quite settled. Maybe the only
pawn could be
we can't even kick the queen away because of course the a8 rook would hang. So so that's probably the queen gets a nice square there, and it's very hard to.
You could play rook c8 or something. They can't take the pawn immediately because of knight b8.
So I like this point actually. Sorry.
But it's still better for
I like this point actually. So going back to this position here, apparently after knight c6, queen e8, this might not be the best move, but it puts black under a tremendous amount of pressure to find the answers very quickly. If I knew that was the case, I'd play this in a heartbeat. Yeah,
because actually, you just want to complete your development as white as well, and this knight on d2 is the piece that's getting in the way a bit. So
apparently, you're quite right again, Nick. E3 is what is apparently in some concepts. E3 is what they want to do.
Okay.
Just reading the chat as well. So if I come up with some really great ideas, Nick, it's probably because I've got my eye on this side and you're looking more at the actual board. But you're a grandmaster, so you should have to. You should have to play the handicap. I should get all the advice, and you should have to do it yourself. So let's look at the live position.
Someone will have to give you a bad move on purpose.
Well, it was April 4th this morning. I don't think it counts in the afternoon, apparently, but I don't know if that's true. Okay, let's just ask the question. Would you be considering any moves other than knight c6 here?
Okay, what about something like knight d to f3?
Okay, sure. I mean, I'm not... Yeah, let's just put it on the board and let's just see. So like a very, I guess, logical move.
Sure.
Backing up, as we said, the knight on e5, potentially maybe developing the bishop, the dark square bishop if we wanted. We still retain some options.
Yeah.
After knight c6.
Yeah, that looks interesting. Then it's whether black will take the knight or not, I guess.
So maybe like, okay, so knight takes knight. Like,
then you've got to decide. Yeah, you probably have
we
to take
would
with the
have
knight.
to decide. But I'm not sorry.
I think you've got to take with the knight.
I was just thinking then, could black do this sort of like,
try and just sort
just
of
queen e8, just kick your queen away from a4, cover the c6 square.
They could do. That'd be slightly annoying, wouldn't it?
I know that Simon can handle anything, but you know, if I ever play him, I'd want to get the queens off because I know that it's only a matter of time before I lose if they stay on the board.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's just me. It's not like it.
It's sort of funny, isn't it? When you play certain players, I think you always try and keep the queens on or exchange them off depending on what they want. I guess that's.
There's an interesting comment in the chat, and I'm not sure. I think this has become quite a cliche comment, which I'm not sure. I've got a couple of things. You've obviously heard this before. The threat is stronger than the execution.
Oh yeah.
And I've heard people, strong players, reply to that. Go, well, the threat just doesn't exist. Then it's like
there are some situations where where that's true. I think.
Of course.
But I think also if you get a position with a slight advantage, and you don't want to commit something, it's nice to just sort of throw in a couple of threats and hope that you bluff your opponent into making a weakness.
So there's a bit of a game theory element as well. Like you can sort of play the psychological game where you.
Yeah, I've done that loads of times before. You play a move and it looks like you're threatening a move, but you're not really going to play that move. You just hope that they believe that.
It gives them something to think about as well. Maybe they burn a bit of clock. Maybe they find themselves under a bit of psychological pressure.
They might make some pawn weakness trying to stop you or something like that.
Indeed,
so you can do it.
So as an example, if white was to ever have a knight on e3, maybe black would jump the gun and play g6.
You know, moment, it could happen. Yeah.
Too early, just to like, and then obviously weaken some dark squares, just because they start to see the danger of a knight to f5, for example. So I think so. Simon's obviously considering here. Just to let you know, the clock times, they are correct on this occasion. Only 10 moves in. Queen a4 is an interesting idea. I don't think Simon. I don't know how much preparation. It's not preparation specifically for today, or his knowledge of this opening was. Obviously, bishop e7, you can't. Even if you knew this, wouldn't be a surprise. But it feels to me that both players are on their own now, and he's going.
I think so. I think up until Queen a4, so he might have known it.
Guess what? You know what he's played.
Has he gone for the e4 idea? Has he?
No, he's gone. He's gone. Your idea, knight d. You're such a humble man. You seem surprised that he's just calmly played his D knight out.
But she might try your plan now, though.
What was my plan?
Yours was knight takes knight and queen e8, wasn't it? After.
Yeah, because I know my. You got to know your prey, haven't you? You know, that's the thing. What the hunter does. Do we see another queen sack? I think that's.
It's hard to think how you queen sack here.
Anytime soon, anyway. I mean, obviously there might be a winning queen sacrifice to get a checkmating attack towards the end of the game, but it's hard to see. But that's a nice question. Nice to see that someone's paying attention to Simon's other games, which is brilliant. Yeah. He's made a big impression on that one game. Risk it for a biscuit and all that's left are crumbs. I've never heard that before. I've heard the first part, never the second part. My immediate reaction would be knight takes and queen e8. Spoiler alert, spoiling in every respect, just to have that sort of like, asking Simon, do I want to exchange queens? So there are some ideas, like people are trying to invent ideas of how we might better do some crazy things, but let's stick to the. After knight takes knight, is there any interest in pawn takes, by the way?
I'm trying to think of something you can do to not just completely simplify the position.
This doesn't feel right to me. I don't know. Does it feel right to you? This.
I guess the knight can go to e4 or d7.
I mean, maybe my immediate reaction would be e4. We do in this situation. We do have a couple of bailouts. If we, there's hard to believe that knight. Unlike the flip position of this morning, where Simon's opponent could have got his knight trapped on the counter square of e5, which would be the counter square of e4. It seems hard to believe this knight would get into trouble. Knight takes e5 would seem like that.
More.
So let's look through this. Knight takes e5, and if black's sort of in my way of thinking.
Go for this queen. You probably. I mean, Simon won't want to exchange queens, will he? So
No, maybe just queen c2.
yeah, something like queen c2.
It's not queen e8 is not a major issue for white, is it? It's not like white's compelled to exchange queens at all. The queen exchange is just not a good idea, is it? Black just suddenly.
I mean, it's just not his style. I feel like it must be close to equal then. Quite. Because black will be able to get c5 in quite easily, and all the pieces will develop, won't they?
Again, you're saying this is, as you mentioned a number of moves ago, this is a key idea for black
It
in
can
these
be good
situations
in the white position
to counter attack, or certainly to avoid white getting sort of a clamp on all the sort of central squares.
You don't want white to basically load up on the c file and your pawn stuck on c7, because then
it's going to be a turn of weakness. And also
Exactly.
this knight coming back into c6 at the right moment really locks it all down, as it fixes that weakness.
I think
If the
so.
rook comes to c1, then this bishop doesn't look so clever, etc.
yeah, even
on.
with the queens off, that could be annoying for black.
So
Yeah.
what other options? I mean, I'm not saying why knight takes e5. The reason I mentioned it was just because again, you're playing the GingerGM. He's quite attacking. I feel if I can try and get a couple of pieces off the board, I'm less likely to find myself into some problems.
Do you think she knows the reputation of GingerGM?
Oh, who doesn't?
I don't know. You never know.
Oh,
I know.
I think when they're brought up on chess in India, I think that's like
They might be like positional
they learn English. They have like the ABC books, or
do you not think that
and then they have the GingerGM books.
The younger Indian players, they probably study these like talented Indian players. Do you think that Anands and
No, I don't.
even the younger guys, Praganantha or Gukesh or someone, do they study the GingerGM? You think?
No, I don't. Apparently, we've only got 274 viewers at this moment, but that's actually 274,000 Indian viewers we've got at the moment.
Oh, right, okay.
They're all tuning in to find out.
Yeah.
We just can't fit it on stream, the number of viewers we've got, so we condense it.
Yeah.
Just like
Maybe
274.
everyone who's from India should just let us know. Is anyone watching from India?
I don't know.
Nobody on the chat is from India.
apparently though, apparently India. I don't know if this might come surprise you.
Yeah.
Apparently they've got a couple of young, promising players.
They do have one or two, yeah.
One or two. And they've been Gukesh, Erigasi, Pragnananda.
She might think
who's a bit
Simon's
older
like
now.
a positional,
Apparently, we were saying this before, and Mr. Dodginess. Apparently, Simon lost a game when he was 16 to Jan Gustafsson, and Jan's always considered him to be like Jan. I don't think Jan's ever forgiven him, and he was always like, Simon's this kind of crazy cat, but actually his fundamentals are brilliant, and he ground me down brilliantly. And I think Jan never forgiven him. Got to 26, 50, 60, whatever.
Sure.
But still remembers this heavily disappointing defeat at the hands of a young GingerGM.
Yeah, it's funny how sometimes certain losses in particular can stay with you for a long time. They can kind of shape you. I actually lost to you when I was very young. But
Really?
You didn't even remember it.
No, I don't. I can't believe I do have a few years. In fairness, I do have a few years on you, and obviously at a young age, having a few years, being a few years older than someone. I don't remember that at all, actually.
I think it might have been. It might have been. I'm not 100% sure. It was either 92 or 93.
Oh wow! Okay.
Lloyd's Bank Masters.
Oh, right, so I was actually
unless I'm making it up, it was someone else. I just had a feeling it was you.
Don't worry about that.
Take it.
I'll take it, whether it's true or not.
Yeah.
I'll be on the database tonight, wondering if I've ever done that. By the way,
someone can probably find out.
Loz Cooper pointing out that Ramesh, who's coaching a lot of these Indian juniors, he does actually just put on the video and then just go and have a cup of tea or something, and doesn't actually worry about. He just puts on an Indian, a GingerGM DVD, and that's the end of it.
Has Ramesh ever analysed a game of Simon's?
Well, they'll be doing round 2, by the way. You'll be doing round 2 when you get round to it, by the way.
Okay.
We're not really analysing it. I mean, it's like it's just a beautiful little miniature as well. So here we go. Enfield HK, who I know very well, grew up in India, and he's happy to take on the 275,000. So viewers we don't actually have, Nick. Anyway, going back to this position. I mean, are you surprised by their time handling here? I mean, Black's used half an hour, and it's like.
I think, to be honest, over Bishop E7, around that stage, she seemed to be the first one out of book, didn't she, with all this Knight D7, Bishop E7. So I think when you're the first one out of book, you always take a bit of extra time because you're quite nervous that your opponent knows what they're doing and you don't, and that's actually quite a dangerous part of the game. I always really like it when my opponent starts thinking for the first time, because up until that point you're just very nervous that they know more than you do. So I can understand that she's behind on time because it feels like Simon's preparation was maybe just 1 or 2 moves deeper.
Well, this Queen A4, I totally agree, because I think, I mean, I'm not so familiar with these positions, but even so, this Queen A4, like, you know, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, but you talk about these ideas which I have seen before, but I would never have thought an early foray of the Queen to A4 with the idea of maybe spying up this C6 square is such an interesting idea.
Yeah.
And maybe she hasn't seen this idea before. Apparently it is a known one, but you know, as players improve players, she's still young, she's got plenty of time. I was going to ask you, I know, we both know Simon very well, and I've always been impressed when he goes to a tournament like this, even though he doesn't play as much as he used to or maybe wants to, his ability to sit there over the boards. You know, he could be getting up, I'd be getting up, walking around now, not in an air of confidence to psych out my opponent, just because I'd get easily distracted.
Sure.
I've got the attention span of a I don't know what I was going to say there. But anyway, I don't have a long attention span. But Simon's still sitting at the board there, you know,
Sure.
I guess working things out. You know, how's your mindset when you play?
I'm pretty good. I tend to like not really get up other than if I have to go to the bathroom. I tend to just stay there even during my opponent's moves. If I'm walking around, that's normally a sign that things are going pretty well for me.
Okay, yes, it's like,
yeah,
it's a classic sort of, some people take a glug of their water and
Yeah.
you know, they unlock their water at the board.
I-
Speaking of water, actually, if you don't, I'm just going to leave you for a minute and get a glass of water. Do you need anything?
I'm good. I'm good.
But don't have dead air. You just need to like talk about some ideas on yourself or anything. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Thanks. Yeah, it's actually quite interesting because I used to teach these. Well, I teach a lot of juniors, and I was teaching juniors, and if I'd play against them, I'd normally obviously have the upper hand against them, so I was able to win a lot of games against them. And then, as Blair mentioned, you might sort of walk around, maybe not really walk around, but just you wouldn't have to be completely focused because you know that you've got a winning position. And then I played against Vishy Anand in the London Rapid Play, and when it was the stars were invited, and I got a bit of a difficult position. It wasn't too bad. It was probably savable until quite near the end. But he was basically walking around because he was so confident, or so much up on the clock against me, and you know, acting really confident. And a lot of the juniors that I teach, I mean, 1 or 2 of them were there, and one of them said to me, "Oh, that's how you make me feel when I play against you." So Vishy was obviously doing that to me, just walking around and just beating me without really seeming to concentrate that hard. So yeah, it's all different levels, I think. Yeah, some people do walk around to get rid of nerves. Can be done. Yeah, I tend to just try and stick at the board if I can. Okay, how important is a second in a tournament like this? And does Simon have someone who can help him? I think Blair helped him with one of the games actually. But yeah, I would say a second is pretty useful in general. Just because it just makes your learning a lot more efficient. So if you know you're playing against somebody and you roughly know the most likely lines to come up, you have to spend quite a lot of time trying to analyze, you know, which variation to play against those lines. Whereas if if someone's doing that for you, especially if you can find out the night before and they can do something overnight, and then you can just learn the lines in the morning, it saves so much time. I know once or twice I've played with the England team, and someone might help out overnight, or I did have a friend who I did a bit of work with once. One tournament I'd help him, or another tournament he'd help me, and I did actually find that during those periods it didn't make a big difference. It helped a lot. Let's see. Yeah, I saw Victor's on the stream. I had quite a lucky win against Victor in one of the British Championships recently. So yeah, we got down to Bishop and wrong colour rook's pawn, and unfortunately I managed to trick him. So it was quite a lucky win there. I see the opponents play Queen E8 here. So Queen E8 is quite an interesting move. I was actually thinking about Queen E8, although I was trying to think what advantage is there in playing Queen E8 compared to taking the knight straight away, and I couldn't really think of one other than it's a bit of a cheapo, because you are threatening now to play knight takes knight, and if you can play knight takes knight, I mean, if white does something, you know, completely I don't know, Simon won't play this, but if white plays some move, let's just say some other move, we can play knight takes knight and the queens oppose each other, and if white plays queen takes queen, then we can throw in knight takes f3 check, and white will lose a piece. So that is a threat. I'm sure that Simon won't fall for that. But other than that, I think it does give. I mean, we're going to go for. Well, I guess actually, I mean, if we played say Queen C2 or something, we'd be transposing back to the line if you played Knight takes Knight straight away. But I wonder if this gives White any extra options. Knight C6 looks a little bit risky here. Let's see. I see White could just move the Queen. White could also move the Knight, try and keep the pieces on. Could play Knight D3 even. See, the opponent actually played Queen E8 straight away.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, and I'll just.
Is that a clever idea, by the way?
Well,
how was your experience of doing that by yourself?
It does. I don't know. I probably logged everyone off by accident, but it does threaten Knight takes Knight.
You've lost us our 250,000 Indian viewers.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, never mind. They'll be back. There's only one place to be to watch the drama. It's the GingerGM.
Exactly. I'm sure.
So let's go through.
They're threatening to win a piece. I just mentioned that with Queen E8.
Oh, this clever little trick with the intermezzo.
That's the main idea. But apart from that, I'm not sure if it gives White extra options as well. So. Well, I guess if White moves Knight D3, you could play Knight E5 anyway if you wanted, but...
Oh wow, that's quite... Let's just put that well, that's quite nice. It's quite a nice idea, isn't it? Because, again,
move.
The Queen is undefended on A4, so all these tactics involve, if White were to play Queen takes E8, you obviously have to play Knight takes F3. Check, quite importantly. So the live position is just a quite cunning move. I mean... You never know. There's always a chance that someone's asleep at the wheel, isn't it? And sort of thinks, "Oh, I'll just play Bishop F4. It's not a problem." And then boom, then it's all like game over. It's an early bath.
Sure. Yeah. So that's
something to watch out for.
I'm trying to think what other options. I mean, so Knight C6 feels a bit risky here, doesn't it? I don't know if I'd be comfortable playing that move. I feel like that's asking for trouble a bit.
So explain why you think. I mean, you appreciate we do have the sort of bailout of Knight takes C7 check.
I've been worried about Bishop D6 and then
this might be a threat, for example. Yes,
exactly. It could be
so let's just look at this. So if White switches off Bishop G5, for example, hoping maybe for Rook C1 to support this Knight. Unfortunately, this looks like a crushing blow because the Knight is attacked three ways. The Knight can't move due to the pin, and Rook C1 will not help matters due to the pressure on C6. So
you could play. I mean, you could play Queen C2, I guess, after Knight C6. Is that possible? I mean,
so
it
looks
risky.
Bishop D6, Queen C2. Again, though, this Knight doesn't look very stable, does it? If we'd had one more move,
it doesn't.
Then of course we can support our Knight on C6.
Sure.
But we obviously in chess we can't take. We can't even sneak an extra move in. We can try, but it's kind of like it's frowned upon, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, Black could also consider winning the E2 pawn. I don't know whether they do that or not, but yeah, it doesn't.
Let's go back.
It feels like it's giving Black too many options here. I don't really like it that much.
Queen E8. Apparently, Queen C2 is supposed to be. Was not meant to put. Apparently, Queen C2 now. I mean, again, it might, even if the computer look, the starting position in chess is probably considered to be a draw ultimately, isn't it?
I think, Queen. We said after Knight takes Knight and Queen E8, we might play Queen C2 anyway. But I think the place where Simon went slightly wrong is this Knight D to F3, and he should have played the Knight C6 and E4 idea that you discussed before.
So in this position.
Yeah, I think it was the Knight C6 Queen E8 E4 idea, wasn't it? That was
that was apparently it's still the computer defending this as Black, but even so, I like the idea of
put pressure on,
putting mass. If my opponent has to find sort of like 2, 3, 4 only moves to maintain the balance, at least I'd love to put them in that position, especially if I was if I was playing anyone. But if I was playing you. I'd love to put you in a position where I'm sure you're capable of finding them.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable.
But I'm basically saying, look, if you don't find these moves, I'm going to get some sort of nice advantage out of this position.
Definitely, yeah.
And so, that might be my best chance, obviously, in a practical sense.
So you think maybe Knight... Because you saw that idea as well of taking the Knight and playing Queen E8 and just trying to sort of simplify...
That's just second nature to me, Nick. What I don't see is tactics like... I don't think I'd see a tactic like this, for example. It's second nature to me to try and swap the queens. So this is a very interesting move that Black's played, and all credit to her. This young player from India, another young strong player from India. The young. I said the other day, the young Indian grandmaster. It's not really narrowing down the field a lot, is it? We've still got
But she's what's her title? FIDE master, is it?
Peeps, be sheeps, forecast Black to win. Well, if that's a genuine... there are some moves on board. If you're welcome to forecast that. I think that's unlikely. I think... But Simon won't want to draw, so will he?
Yeah, Simon's still like the favourite,
right.
But Yeah,
Well,
everything's possible. Everything's possible in
If
chess,
that's,
isn't it?
if that's a genuine prediction other than a sort of ramping, trolling prediction, then either way, we welcome it all. Bring it on.
Knight takes d7 is interesting. Maybe after queen takes, he's not going to trade queens.
Well, queen takes the only move, isn't it?
Well,
because it threatens the queen on a4, by the way. It also threatens a queen exchange.
But whereas queen takes the only move, surely knight takes is also...
I know that. I just mean...
But it's the most logical move.
By the way, when I used to stream, do you know what one of my catchphrases was? I exchanged queens because that way I can no longer blunder mine.
I mean, that is true, yeah.
And so, if black went queen takes d7 here, which I don't know what I would actually play.
I think she would play that.
I appreciate that Simon will almost certainly play queen c2
probably, and try to go knight e5, I guess. Yeah.
And then that. But of course, I mean, I might be quite happy to play queen takes d7. But.
I mean, it just depends if you can get any pressure in the centre. But I feel like black should be okay there. But maybe after queen, let's quickly look at queen takes queen though, just see if you can do anything.
Yeah, let's
so queen takes, and then say bishop f4 or something.
I suspect this isn't going to. I suspect this isn't going to happen due to Simon's style. But let's just.
No, I don't think it will.
All options should be considered.
Yeah, because one thing is rook c8 runs into bishop h3 ideas, so you probably don't want to play
that.
that.
Let's just have a look at this. So rook c8.
Yeah, bishop h3.
I love your vision here because we always consider. I always consider that the bishop on g2 is sort of in its optimum place, and it turns out in certain situations. But in certain situations, you've got to keep your eyes open to move that bishop to h3, which doesn't often happen, I guess.
No, it does happen sometimes, but not that much. Yeah, but I guess black will just play c5 instead of rook c8 and not really. Worry about any of that kind of stuff. So.
She is actually thinking she's taken with the horsey.
You said queen takes was the only move, but she did.
Well,
she played that just to sort of spite you. I think.
Well, I tell you what, Nick, if you've joined the stream, I think my stream is okay, but my prediction moves, whether they be from Simon's Grandmaster point of view or his 2200 rated opponents, has been 1 out of 10.
I think she thinks Simon's a positional master. She's the young player. She doesn't want the queens off,
She's the one that's like... So she's
I'm not going to let him stop those queens against me.
I tell you what, I've seen all your DVDs in India. I'm bored of watching them. I'm going to put you in your place and show you that there's more than one kid in this gunfight, basically.
If you're a young player, though, normally you actually want to keep pieces on against an older player, don't you? I guess that's actually... I mean, were you taught that when you were younger or not? I always sort of said, if you're playing... Okay, not
self-taught, Nick, as you can imagine.
Not probably, like Simon, but if you're playing, a sort of like player maybe in their 60s or 70s, I was always taught you got to try and keep the pieces on and their calculation, try and out-calculate them.
I appreciate this.
Rather than getting a positional game where they grind you down.
But joking, of course, a little bit about the sort of, I know Simon's style, I know my style, and it's not about my style, of course, so much, because I'm not playing this game, but I just feel, I suppose this queen d7, maybe it's not the great move anyway, because let's just go through it. Queen takes d7, all jokes aside, queen c2 looks natural for white, and as you pointed out, you've now got to contend with the idea of knight coming into e5.
Yeah, that's only sort of one tempo, I guess.
Exactly.
Isn't it?
Maybe I don't know. Maybe this knight takes d7. Does it not necessarily have to go back to f6 anytime soon or something? Or maybe
she's kind of thinking about knight e5. She wants to play that tactic.
I'm having my way. Do you know what I mean? You stopped me once, but you know what?
Yeah.
You won't stop me twice. It's like I'm going to have this knight e5 back on the board. And by the way, so get questions like this coming in from Campfire Stew. What is White's plan to somehow get e4 in? I will leave that to my esteemed co-commentator, former British champion, former world under-18 champion, no small feat. A few years ago that now. The issue with, I guess, I can answer this one, Chespinage. I think the issue with, let me see what Moobot's deleting now. Okay, I will absolutely allow that. I'll allow that if I could, but I'm not that totally minded. By the way, Chespinage, I was going to say that rook h4 is maybe not the best idea because I'm not quite sure what it achieves. But Simon has actually played rook h4, so I'll just take that off the board for a second, go back to asking Nick what his opinion is about White's plan. I thought White's plan was to play h4, but maybe that's not a good idea either. Maybe this rook really then runs short of squares, and people are saying if h5 comes in there, if black can hold that construction, this rook can actually not move anywhere. So it's quite uncertain where White's going with this rook, by the way. So there we go. Wonderful story about her. It has been allowed. Thank you very much, Charlie, Charlie Chesscat. Keeping order as ever. We thank you very much for that. a very interesting situation we have here. Very intense situation where Simon's hoping for a win. Been very impressed with the resilience of his young Indian opponents. Rook h4, she has played a move, and I'm not quite sure. We'll wait for that on the board. So let's look at Elise Mel. I don't see a good plan for black. We could try rook c3 to queen c1, rook a3 to a5. So gradually improving on the queen side from white. I wonder if black's rook e3 played. What a move. Obviously taking advantage of the point being that pawn takes e3 runs into queen takes g3. I wonder if white could just go rook back to f4 here. I don't know what black's achieved here. I'm just being joined, and a very good timing, Nick. We've had a couple of moves, quite interesting moves. A sort of banzai move. Don't rush, my friend. We've got plenty of time. Queen a3 was better, apparently. Okay, so tell you what's happened since the time control. We were asked the question, what's white's plan? So black obviously went king h8. Simon went rook h4. Apparently queen a3 is quite a good idea by black, but she unleashed this move, rook e3. Wow. I suppose white could just go back.
Full of tricks. Yeah.
Full of tricks, bag of tricks. There we go. Simon looks maybe, is he phased by this move, or has he played a move? Could he just move his king forward, I guess? I don't know. Is there any...
It doesn't threaten much,
Yeah,
does it?
no
Unless
threat.
she's trying
Apparently,
to out to the A file.
so we go back here. There's a good question in the chat. What do you think if White's trying to win? Which we know White's trying to win. Have you got any plans for White?
We considered h4, didn't we? As a possible
Okay,
idea.
let's keep going with the go. So gone rook h4, rook e3, king g2, and the rook has moved across to a3, I believe.
Do you need the headset, by the way?
Oh no, I don't actually. That's the point. Sorry.
You're just trying to drown me out, yeah? Sick of my voice.
It's just, I don't know what I do. It's just, I say, it's just
listen to a bit of music.
Force of habit, basically. I can assure everyone I wasn't listening. Wasn't queen a5 better than rook a4? Chris Baker's asking. Yeah, so maybe I think it was definitely better because we're being told after rook h4, as visually impressive as this rook e3 is, maybe black would be better off taking the advantage of invading quickly with queen a3. So queen a5 hitting the d pawn. So queen a5 here, yeah. Sorry, going back.
With a rook
queen
on
a5
f4.
with rook at f4, hitting pawn on d5. That seems quite.
I mean, you're not
nice.
threatening it just yet, are you? But
I see. Okay.
put some pressure on, doesn't it?
The headset's a fashion statement. Yeah, just trying to pretend I've got more going on upstairs than I have, to be honest with you. But there we go. So let's look at the live position. Rook h4, rook e3, king g2, and the rook swung across to a3. This does look a little bit awkward, doesn't it? Or maybe...
Yeah, it does feel like actually white wants the bishops off now, which is ironic because the whole game felt as though black had been the one who wanted the bishops off. Suddenly it's the other way around, isn't it?
Come round here.
That bishop on g6 is defending the king quite nicely.
Exactly. So if we could move that. Lekadam is very kind of you. He does own that table. It's him on that board, yes. Simon, by the way, just for the record, is on the left-hand side of the live picture. Just in case. Let the position advantages grow like a fine beard. Who's got the position advantages here, though? It looks visually that white would have due to the structure, but is that true? I don't
It's
know.
difficult. You feel as though exchanges should favour black, really, but not the bishop exchanges, but the sort of exchanges of major pieces.
Well, this pawn, because as we've said, could suddenly be a real nuisance. It could actually be a defining nuisance in very close, defended obviously by the pawn on d5, quite close to the promised land. The promised land being turning into a queen on the 8th rank, or the first rank of white's position. We've got some moves coming in again. I'm trying to keep a half an eye on the chat and on the board. What do you reckon Simon played here? No idea. King 8. Whoa. What is that?
Maybe just trying to pass time. I don't know.
By the way, I can assure people that the clocks the clocks should have given half an hour each. She's no danger of losing on time here. By the way, they've definitely reached time control. Maybe a little glitch in the feed that we're getting, but you can add 30 minutes onto each side's clock. Maybe when it goes down to 0, it will recapture, but it's not going to be a loss on time, by the way. So there's maybe some suggestions that we're stepping out of any checks at some point, so the bishop can move that check. Yeah. This looks strange move, but maybe again it's freeing up the queen. So yeah. What do you reckon the chances are now, Nick? How are you feeling about this?
I don't know. It's definitely a 3-result game, isn't it?
I would say it's definitely a 3-result game. I'm still not.
I'm still slightly in favour of Simon winning.
So am I. I'll be honest with you. I mean, it's not just. I don't think that's just my blind optimism. I just think, he's got that experience on his side. I think it might count for something. The pressure. She seems to have handled the pressure so far, broadly speaking, pretty well.
Yeah.
But if this were my move, I'd be to blunder the queen. Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat as you there. I've tried to blunder a lot of pieces along the way. Try and keep it together, even though we're getting a bit of a long day, but we relish these sort of challenges. And if you want some action and some up and downs, come to our place. Bishop h5, is that an idea?
It's funny because it's actually one of those positions where it's not that easy to find ideas for either side, is it?
They're kind of like in this optimum, it's sort of like, stand pat, sort of don't move anything, stand still situation. What about bishop h5? Is that maybe it's like white trying to play king h2? I think that's definitely an idea.
I think bishop h5, yeah. I probably wouldn't want. I'd probably rather they take me than to take them myself.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I can see him playing bishop h5. By the way, definitely. Don't know how strong a move it is objectively. I think it looks pretty good. But provided you don't blunder anything here, I guess there's still many ways. Like you said, it's quite hard to see obvious ways to improve matters. Yeah, bishop h5 is on the boards. That really, as soon as it was suggested in the chat, go and box, I felt strongly that Simon would play this one.
What about rook g8 and trying to get some sack on g3 to work?
So we'll just go back to live board. It's coming. But I've put bishop h5 on the board because we know it's coming in. So you want to go rook g8?
Yeah.
And if I take, how you want to take back?
With the rook.
You want to take back the rook? Wow.
I don't really completely. I'm not completely sure about it. But
I can't believe this, but maybe. Well, obviously you do have a threat, I guess, straight away if rook takes g3. So yeah, I don't know why the board's not updating to the time, but
there might have been, unless white could white play queen h6, or that actually gets a bit double edged, doesn't it?
Well, here.
Yeah, that's. Well, I don't know what's going on there. Could.
Simon should be allowed to follow suggestions from the chat.
Yeah, because queen h6, you might just move the bishop away and try and sack on g3. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's definitely a bit double-edged, isn't it?
Yeah, there's people are talking about the Jesse or Jess, the Fox official. Yeah, queen h6 as an idea as well. Yeah, if he was forced to listen to me, it'd be a massive disadvantage. Nick seems to would be quite a good fall for him. But there we go. Well, there we go. It's getting late for all of us, but we'll keep with it. And we'll keep with the idea. So it has gone bishop h5. Black's gone rook d6. She's playing. I'm not sure about her quick sort of moves.
She plays sort of defensively, isn't she?
Yeah. She looks like she's trying to be prophylactic in the sort of thinking of like bishop takes, f takes, g6. I'm already preparing for any dangers along the h7 pawn by.
Yeah, but I did actually think the king was better on g8 than h8. I feel like it's some lines with a king on h8.
Well, you'd be thinking maybe about the f8 square or something
f8,
like
or
this.
if they take on g6 and the threatening queen takes g6.
There's also like to think about this and like, so there might be like you might prefer the king if you don't want to play rook g8, of course.
Yeah.
And if there's no need necessarily to have. That's an interesting point because it feels to me that the king on h8 was understandable, but you think, as you said, you're saying
it depends.
No, just in some small points that maybe white has some. If the queen comes into h6, it's threatening. Queen takes g6. It wouldn't be the case if the king were already on g8. Of course, black could sidestep that at some point with king g8, but there we go.
But her rook doesn't need to really be on the d file anymore. She could maybe go to b7, could she? Or, I don't know if that's going in the wrong direction. It depends how dangerous Simon's attack is.
Do you think there's any truth in that she may be coming into we're already into the we're approaching the 5th hour. We're approaching the 5th hour of the game. Is there any suggestion she may have been traumatised by sitting opposite the intimidating Ginger Beard? I think Simon's been told to cover it up by the looks of his hand gestures. I
think she's starting to enjoy it a bit more.
Really?
She likes it.
She's warming to her task. In fairness, though, she having been subjected to many hours of Ginger videos back in India, where we assume that she has lived for most of her life. Not necessarily so, of course. Is she now thinking she's warming to the task of
she's getting into it now.
Before she was a bit intimidated by the character, the larger than life character that's the GingerGM Simon Williams. She was a rabbit caught in the headlights.
Yeah, for a little while.
Now she's the headlights.
Yeah.
How the world has turned on its head. The beard sort of grows on you after a while. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, how about bishop takes g6, f takes g6, e4? What about let's look at some suggestions from the chat. This looks like a dynamic idea. And after takes, what would be the idea, Nick?
I guess rook e4, do you think?
Oh, rook e4.
I
know. I was just looking first move that. I'll just put it on the board. The first move that came to my mind.
Rook c4.
But rook e4 looks more to the point, I guess. Maybe. I was thinking about keeping the rook there, but this probably looks more to the point. So this is an interesting idea.
After rook c4, I was wondering about. It looks a bit ridiculous, but is e3 ever worth it as a pawn sack? Just to stop that queen get into h6 and just to try and
so maybe I think you're right.
Open up some attacking.
Also, we've always got to really worry that at this 7th rank.
Yeah, suddenly you could come under pressure.
You could definitely come under. So I think you're absolutely right. Rook takes e4. Maybe I'd say that obviously stops e3 because it's removed from the board.
Makes it illegal.
makes it somewhat illegal. Absolutely. So this looks like I feel that this would be. I'd be impressed. This seems like a good idea, but I'd be impressed if White plays it, Simon, even if Simon plays it. But maybe he needs to do something and exchanging the bishops, and then this move kind of starts to free the rook a bit, doesn't it?
There's some crazy stuff going on after pawn takes e4, rook d3.
So we want to take here.
I was going to rook d3 first.
Okay, so rook d3.
Queen h6, presumably, and then.
So again, this idea if the king was on g8 again, the good point here, the black would have a free move maybe, but.
And now just take on d4. Is that?
Take on d4.
I don't know. Yeah, it's all a bit mad. And then take on e4, it gets a bit crazy. But
it's getting a bit crazy. They finally added the times to both the clocks, and somehow Simon seems to have fallen under.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But
my idea was after rook d4, queen g6, rook e4, you can't take the rook because your queen's hanging.
I see what you're saying. So takes, and if takes, and it's also beautiful as well.
Yeah, it's lucky, covers everything.
Not lucky, of course. You make your own luck in chess, I guess. The rook takes e4 cannot happen due to the fact the rook needs to stay on h4. So Mickey Duquette, Simon's doing okay, I guess, especially after the dramas of this morning's round, 2 rounds a day, and but now it's all to play for. We join it live in this position here.
Yeah, that kind of position is a mess.
Simon's this position is quite a tricky one, isn't it? With the bishop on h5, and maybe a bit of tension creeping in, both into the position and possibly, I'd imagine, to the two players as well. We've been impressed with both of them, I guess, at times, haven't we, Nick?
Yeah, they're both playing some good moves. Yeah.
Slightly, don't we say slightly unimpressed with both of them at times? Maybe I think we could say that quite.
That's probably just normal chess, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Some good moves and some bad moves.
It's the nature of these. It's like some good moves, some bad moves. Rook c3 in this position. I wonder, is that a suggestion? What about queen h6 right away?
I don't really want to trade off if I'm white. I feel like black will be happy with trades. Plus, also you got to worry about queen b4 and stuff like that. I don't know if that's ever gonna. I'm not sure if that's a big problem or not, but
it might be. But
it's definitely something to watch out. It's definitely something to watch out for, isn't it?
Maybe not. Maybe they can take here in the intervene. No, maybe not.
They can't.
No, they can't. We've got rook takes and queen h6, so that could be nice.
They could just take back.
We don't expect her to fall for anything. She hasn't fallen. If anyone's fallen for it, it's me. But she set up a couple of traps herself, and fair play to her. So we've got loads of different suggestions coming in, of course, but it's quite hard to see. Queen h6 seems to be gaining some traction in the chat. Bishop f3, I don't know if we're talking about exactly the same position. They might be talking about moves on moves, which is always difficult. If you read out a move the chat, it doesn't always make sense because it might be halfway down the line we've already talked about. But it appears that Simon has dipped below her clock for the first time in a long time.
Okay, what about this then? What about bishop takes bishop for the white now?
I think Will BB's got some strange information about you. Played the first of the Great Yarmouth, not far from where Great Yarmouth. That's not far from where you're based. It's not where you're based now, is it? Quite. I don't think.
It's not too far now. It probably does take like an hour and a half from where.
But
it was up sort of Norfolk way.
Anyway, welcome first time chat. Will BB 1 2 3 4. Hopefully you did well today, or you certainly enjoyed your day in the Great Yarmouth Congress. Welcome to joining us, and thank you for being here. Nick, you were saying about the position, please.
Okay, I don't know if it's any good, but what about bishop takes bishop for white now?
Let's go through it.
F takes, and then instead of e4, just like rook b1, and just try to see if you can create some tricks
Maybe
that
some
way.
activity, pinning the queen down. Maybe we've got ideas of queen h6, perhaps. This looks like an interesting.
It's interesting.
I can see Simon playing this. This is quite active for trying to. Suddenly, I like this rook. Does c3 anything to worry about?
Yeah, I was wondering. I was looking at c3, queen e3, but you might have to go c2. Or was that? We get mated or not? I don't know.
Where you want to go here? Sorry?
My original plan was to go queen e3, but then I'm worried about c2.
I'd be worried about c2 because
You have got rook b3, but that's not really what you want.
okay, it's sort of
Queen e8 and rook b8 and funny. You're probably losing. They just they go.
Let's have a look at this like this. Really interesting. Queen h8, king g7, ignoring the queen in prospect by going. Threatening queen g8 mate.
Actually, queen takes rook. You don't even play queen takes rook yet.
Queen takes rook.
If queen takes rook, you take their rook. You don't take their queen.
Yeah. Okay. This could be.
This is it might actually work.
This is winning for white. Very interesting idea, Nick. Sharp. Still sharp.
I'm sure that there's about like 10 blunders in there.
Well, I don't know about that, but so he's thinking again. It looks like he's a man who's thinking about something. Oh no, he's thinking about something. I don't think he's thinking about what's had for dinner tonight, is he? But
he'd probably like to be having his dinner with a point in the bag.
I'll tell you what,
get the job done first.
My favourite restaurant's not going to take any more bookings from me. It's twice, 2 days running. I've had to cancel my dinner plans, of course, which is quite upsetting for everyone concerned. Not really. I'd rather be here enjoying it with everyone who's joining us on stream, watching the continuing drama that seems to envelop Simon Williams wherever he goes in life. Sometimes the beauty, sometimes the madness, sometimes the craziness. What a position, Nick, that we've got here.
So let's try this bishop takes bishop and rook b1 then. Let's just try it. What does black play there?
So that's it. So bishop takes bishop.
Yeah.
Pawn takes rook b1. This looks very. And then let's just go through this like this.
I wasn't sure if c3. Yeah. I mean, that move. Yeah.
That's beautiful. But what about what about? Oh, then we've got invasion. Again, we've got invasion.
I thought you were looking at rook e7, but.
Okay, let's have a look at that. Yeah. But then have we not got this idea again?
Rook b8. Oh yeah, rook b8's a killer blow, isn't it? Yeah.
It's again,
all the tricks.
All the tricks.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. So c3 might just be a blunder.
I was thinking could black even stop
running? Queen h6 and I don't know. It looks dangerous.
It looks very dangerous. Yeah, absolutely. I imagine it'd be very hard to believe that white doesn't have the pawn's not even black's counterplay as well. It's so far off. That's not even threatening anything. We'd even take a move out, couldn't we?
Yeah, I think.
I think we looked at this crazy dude c2. I think we looked at this c2 here. Well, I think we would work on the basis this is very strong.
Queen e8 first.
Sorry,
Queen e8, yeah.
Queen e8, king g7, rook to b8, threatening queen g8 mate, and if queen takes rook, followed by a sort of busting through 7th rank invasion. Does that work? I guess it does.
It looks very dangerous,
it looks very strong, of course. Yeah. So Simon looks like a man who's considering. He's gone bishop f3. So we just have a quick engine look. Let's have a quick engine look. So let's just have. What was our idea?
We thought bishop takes bishop and rook b1, but I didn't like c3 for black. I thought there was something better than that.
No, black can go king g7.
It puts pressure on though, doesn't it? Black has to find king g7. That's not an obvious move.
King g7.
Yeah.
To bait the queen in before going back to g8. It's very clever, isn't it? Yeah. You don't go g8 first. You go king g7, inviting an obvious queen h6 check, and only then do you step back with your king to g8 once you've misplaced or displaced, tempted the white queen into your camp. And the computer will be telling us here that white's best move is to go back with its tail firmly between its legs.
I think it's better if we just analyse without a computer.
Yeah, I agree. It's
we're never going to beat the computer.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's the point. We won't find the moves. So Simon's played the fairly conservative or understandable bishop to f3. Is that Eric Rose in the background? Pass. Don't know. But I thought their live boards were a little bit further away, and he wouldn't be using our live camera. I don't think it is Eric Rosen, by the way. It's his twin brother, absolutely. Donald Rosen. Derek Rosen.
It looks a bit like him, doesn't it?
It does look a bit like him, of course. Certainly from a distance. And what that distance being about 2,000 miles.
Yeah.
Everyone looks alike from this situation. We don't think it is Eric Rosen, but we could be mistaken. We thought all the streamers' boards had dedicated cameras, so. And I don't think he was, and he's not been sitting there. No, he's definitely a different guy. He's not been sitting there all the time. And the streamers have fixed boards, so their opponents have to come and find. How would you feel about that, Nick? If you're a number 1 seed and then you're playing the British Championships and you're always on board 1, 4 out of 4, and then You had to go and find Simon's. Would you take umbrage at that?
I don't really mind.
No,
to be honest.
exactly. It's the right answer, of course.
To be honest, I kind of prefer not being in the limelight. I prefer. Well, you'd still be in the limelight anyway.
I know,
Simon's board, but yeah.
But you wouldn't worry about. You wouldn't be like, I'm number 1 seed. I demand to play on my own board or whatever. Not your own board, but
yeah, that wouldn't bother me. No,
exactly. Good. Right answer anyway. Welcome back. Anytime. Bishop F3. What's happening, Nick? Talk me through it.
It looks like he's just waiting around, isn't he? Waiting for an opportunity, I guess. And Black goes back to E7 now. Yeah, it's one of those positions where it's actually not that easy for either side to come up with a really strong plan, is it?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's going on. I think the chats now, the slight lull in proceedings are sort of this slight toing and froing in this position. The debate is centred around is it Eric Rosen or not?
If you're not going to, if you're not going to put your rook on G8, maybe you just put the king on G8 and just. Yeah, there's one less thing to worry about then, isn't it?
We're now being told it is Eric Rosen, but
anyway,
moving on.
Okay.
No, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We do have other things. We should have other more pertinent things on our mind. A move has been played. That's all we know about the matter.
Did she play King G8? Did she?
Yeah, she played King G8. Ooh, very nice.
Oh, yeah.
Well done, Nick. Right, still on fire. Despite
I don't know if it's on fire. I'm just
King G8 being played.
Finding the same blunders that they're finding.
Oh, not about that. And obviously, so the idea, of course, you said the king. You always said if you don't want to put a rook on G8, put the king on G8. There are some lines where it is. There we go. Okay, so back over to Simon. What's he going to King G2? Rook F4?
Rook F4, get the H4
Rook
going.
F3, yeah. I don't know, but I think, of course, the issue might be if whether H5. I'd play Rook F4 and H4. You know, we've got to.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since Harry's made an appearance. It is an interesting battle, peeps. Rook F4 is Ledgehammer saying that as well. I'm with Rook F4 and then getting out of the,
I mean, if you're not going to trade bishops, how are you going to checkmate them anyway now? You probably have to go Rook F4 and get the H pawn going.
Well, that was my exactly. I was thinking that's my idea. It's overdue. We're overdue. We haven't really seen any Harry. Already made Rook F4. He's already played Rook F4. Okay, thank you. Sorry, that's why. So he has actually gone to the live position. Thank you. I'll keep it on the live boards until we have some serious analysis or some serious ideas from Nick. I think he's definitely eyeing up H4, isn't he?
I mean, he's got to try something, hasn't he? I don't think he's going to be happy to settle for a draw here. I think he's going to keep going.
I'm not saying he's going to go Banzai, but I think you can still make some forward-thinking, potentially aggressive moves without completely, destroying your own position, basically, without gambling, without, you don't have to sell the farm, whatever the phrase is, in order to try and make some progress here. Don't give the farm away or whatever they say, don't they?
Can Black play A5 and Queen B4? Does I think?
Certainly a bit of. I'm not sure that I think she really wants to stand pat. I'm not saying it's not a good idea, but I feel that she has made some moves, but I think she's a bit reluctant to sort of do anything too proactive, even if it's a good idea.
If she can get the queens off, that would be a big.
Well, you're not worried about this pawn at any point, or
would you not just sack that pawn to get the queens off?
Oh, okay, yeah,
maybe, yeah.
I'd probably do that, of course, but would she accept a draw right now? I'd be shocked. I think she'd rip his hand off, even if she was objectively a bit better, which I'm not saying she is. I think she'd hard fight, draw against Simon, and of course, we find it hard to believe that would be ever a genuine, realistic prospect that Simon would offer a draw. But I think even if it were, I think she'd definitely take it. I'd be shocked if she didn't. But we don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, if or ever. Clock times, there is no more time control. There is a 30-second increment every move. So those clock times are up to date as best as we know, very accurate, shouldn't say very accurate. 20 odd minutes, 25 minutes to Black counting, 22 minutes to Simon. There is no further time control, but 30 seconds increment every time you make a move. I mean, I agree. I think this is Simon's. Simon's.
Okay, go look at that line then. H4, Queen B4.
H4. Okay, Queen B4. I was hoping you would do this. What can I? Yeah,
D1's the only square if you want to keep the queens on, isn't it?
I don't really want to take, do I? I can't.
No, I don't think you do. Even if you win you lose the A pawn, and Black's probably winning there.
Yeah, because these
they're so dangerous.
They're so dangerous. So maybe if she does play A5. By the way, I genuinely want to play H4 without
Move his rook
without,
again.
without you playing. I genuinely want to play h4 without you playing a5, but
Yeah.
and here goes a5 on the board. There we go.
goodness.
Oh, this is looking.
She's playing the moves.
She's playing the moves
the
now.
same blunders as me. Yeah.
I don't know about that, Nick. This is very because it does really. This could be a major no-no with Queen B4 coming in.
Maybe Simon needs to move the rook again. Do you think? I don't know. He should give his queen somewhere to move to.
And after Rook C3, Queen B4, is that?
I mean, it just feels that that's unless you've got some tactic that feels that it should be really good for white. H4. What's it? He must be going Queen D1. I mean, surely he's not going to trade queens after Queen B4.
Well, just give up the A pawn and hope that we can. He's kind of finished rolling the dice a little bit now. He's starting to.
I think he's got to go Queen.
He's
D1,
starting to gamble a little bit. Do we reckon? Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems hard to believe she won't go Queen B4.
Has he played H4?
He has played H4. Yeah.
Should we look at that line? There's H4, Queen B4.
He's played H4. So like H4.
So say Queen B4, Queen D1.
Yeah. Okay.
Which he's bound to play, isn't he? So what do we do there?
Well, Rook A. I mean, Rook takes A2.
Okay, Rook
A2.
A2.
Got time for that?
And then what, H5.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's getting messy.
Bishop E4. It has to go to, I assume. Yeah. So the same square, or maybe this is start. No, maybe this is dangerous.
It's getting double-edged anyway.
So maybe Rook takes A2 is a bit slow. I don't know. Or you want to carry on with that line?
You want to play H5 and give the F6 pawn. I mean, you could just play H5 straight away. That's another option. But I mean,
here, yeah.
I mean, before Queen B4, you could play it if you didn't want to lose the
But I was just thinking
that is a slight concession,
but with this
isn't
Queen
it?
D1, if H5 is on the board, I've always got this sort of like now.
Yeah, you want to try.
I've got this like B3 sort of does open up the line of attack to the pawn on H5. So that could be of some issues.
Okay, well, let's carry on the critical line. So Queen, what was it?
So we've got H4, Queen B4. Oh, sorry. Queen B4. Sorry, not Queen C5.
Queen
D1. Move off the board.
Just trying to push in the C pawn doesn't. I think probably not a good idea. If Rook Rook A2 H5. Rook D2.
Maybe something coming to D2. I was going to say maybe something, but no. Of course, we can't hang the bishop.
The queen. If Rook D2, the queen just goes to F1 or something, does it?
Yeah, it could go to F1. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Don't think that seems to
it's
particularly
getting a
help.
little bit double-edged, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. The queen coming to F1 suddenly's got some tempo gaining ways to over to the king side to activate itself.
This H4 H5 is a dangerous plan.
Oh, so hold on. We've just been told. Hold on. By the way, we've just been told maybe that this is just a possibility.
Do you think?
Well, apparently so. I don't think. But
yeah, maybe. I guess the bishop hasn't got any squares.
If it just goes here, it's just here. Does this line continue or not?
You can take on C4, I guess.
Take on C4, and also H6 is now very dangerous. So
yeah, maybe just sack the bishop then. Don't move it.
Apparently, there's also a way. Apparently, in this position, there might even be a way of going here and then trapping this bishop.
Yeah, but what if you just sack the bishop though? Is that lost? Is it?
Well, that wasn't. There was just a question more than a sort of statement.
Yeah.
It's like an idea. So
I was just thinking if you just play Rook A2 here, what's going on?
Okay, so right. Oh gosh.
This is it, yeah, I don't think so.
No, I think the rook comes around the back, doesn't it? I guess. I mean, take on G6 first.
Go on then. Show me.
Takes. Where do you want to take?
Do I want to take? I don't know actually. I think I'll just go B3.
Okay, I'll go Rook takes F6.
Go B2. Or yeah.
No,
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Rook B1.
Now let's see. The problem is, yeah, we need to
I've got some sort of defensive attacking
it's looking a little bit risky,
isn't it? Well, not maybe like that, but if I get the bishop taking D5,
the problem is we probably needed to take that. We probably need to take that pawn, don't we?
Yeah, and that much feels a bit slow though, doesn't it? So.
Okay. Don't play B2 yet. Just play H takes G6.
Right here.
Yeah.
Okay, I might play Rook B6 then, just to try and slow everything up. Was my idea.
And then Rook C2, I guess.
Ah, tricky.
I'm not sure if I believe any of this stuff.
I'm not sure because I think I've got time for this. Maybe sooner or later I'll just go here. Okay, I'll just go here, slow you up.
Yeah,
I've got ideas of hitting your D pawn.
We're probably not queening these pawns, are we? It's a shame.
There's a couple of moves coming in.
So
Queen H4, Queen B4 has been played.
So yeah,
so this might be.
There's a weird option actually. Does he go Queen D1 or does he try and go after the bishop? I think he's going to play Queen D1.
Well, I think judging by, I think Queen B4 is the best move, but I think.
Well, not definitely. I mean, he had the option. She had the option of moving the H pawn, didn't she?
No. But I think Queen B4 by white, so Queen takes B4.
Oh,
I'm getting the feeling is white, yeah. But what's happened? So it has gone. Queen takes B4 has happened. A takes B4, H5. I think she went Rook C3.
Okay.
Oh, that's quite a clever.
That's quite but then no, where's the rook go? Yeah, that's quite a good move actually.
Because now we've got a space.
You can't take it.
You can't take it because the pawn is not unstoppable. So maybe he's overlooked this. I could easily overlook this move, by the way.
Yeah.
If it's a good move, I could easily overlook this.
Yeah, rook c3 is a nice idea.
It's a nice idea, Sonny. But I suppose we could just move the rook and then take an f6. But these pawns start to look
I'm just surprised that he didn't go for queen d1 though. I felt like that was more Simon, keep the queens on.
Yeah, that could have been. I think maybe Simon's definitely missed this. Yeah, I think this is like the big issue. I think he played this thinking it was really excellent, but didn't see this rook c3 move.
Yeah.
I think that's why he did this, perhaps. This is quite awkward. I mean, it feels very awkward to me all of a sudden. Big move.
So I mean, let's just say he moves the rook away somewhere. I don't know, where does he put the rook?
Rook a1. Maybe I'll go rook
not
a1.
d1.
No, not a1. Sorry, I didn't mean to move it to d1 as a mouse slip. But I'm worried about a1 that sometimes I might end up getting hit by this sort of thing if I pin my own rook. So maybe rook e1 and then bishop. He has made a move. He has played rook a1. Somewhat surprises me because. But then, of course, if this rook moves out of the way, we've got pressure on d5. So she's going to go bishop c2, I suppose. Is that right? Or
yeah, I would have thought so.
Mind you, the other issue here is if we go bishop b4, we no longer have this. This rook takes c4.
Yeah, so that is an option as well.
So this is rook a1's okay apparently. So we're quite happy about this.
What about bishop c2 then?
I'm just going to go cheat very quickly and see if, by the way, forgive me, I'm going to just see in this position what the evaluation was just for. Apparently queen d1 was best, but queen b4 is fine as well. So, but we're not sure if rook a1's fine apparently. So apparently
I think queen d1
was a better chance, more chance to win.
Yeah.
I just think this would have been. I'm just wondering.
You have to get this
right. I'm just wondering if rook c3 didn't exist. I know it's like rook c3 doesn't exist.
It's still
rook takes bishop.
Oh, that's
a clever resource as well.
Yes.
So if that did exist and that,
I think he should just get the queens on, shouldn't he?
Yeah, I think so. But I think he just missed this. I think he would have even missed this exchange sacrifice.
Yeah, but now after rook a1, bishop c2, and the b pawn's coming through, isn't it? So he might lose. Yeah.
Apparently, rook a1 is not okay at all, according to our quick search. I'll take it off.
Because it was you actually said that.
Yeah,
you said the b pawn at some point might gain a tempo off the rook.
Yeah, and also we can just pin the a pawn. That's my issue. That some rook's coming to the a file, and that was my issue. That I was thinking this rook, but of course it hangs this pawn. But I can now see that this rook, putting the rook on a1, it's that close to being trouble. And this is big
after
trouble.
bishop c2. If white ever plays h6, I guess you can go king f8. So there's not like a checkmating threat. But
so it's gone bishop c2. Rook takes f6. So I think the issue must be this rook a3 move followed by b3. It's very quick, isn't it? I think briefly the Jazanova was saying it's okay. Our brief engine look could be completely mistaken. Said it's not okay for some ideas that Pat's pointing out. She's as close to the board as she's ever been. She's as close to the board as she's ever been. She's definitely got the smell of the GingerGM bloods in the water.
Seriously, if you go b3, they can take and then get around the back, or can they?
B3 now, I was thinking rook a3.
Actually, there's a funny checkmate in that line, isn't there? With
-5. He's got off the board. She's definitely.
Someone said -5, did they?
No, it's probably true actually, isn't it? If with the right moves,
yeah,
of course.
I think B3 is a possible blunder to make, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
because I think white can just take it and then take and then it's just a number of ways to defend. I guess you can.
Oh, I don't see them.
Put something on the B file, put a rook on the B file, I guess.
And after this, it's like,
even rook B6, or you can play check.
Oh, sorry, of course.
Check, and then rook B6 threatens mating, forced mate as well, doesn't it? With a H6 checkmate coming at the end.
Oh, seriously, that's quite nice actually. That's quite the board. So a random move by black, rook B6, king G7 is quite nice with the rooks cutting across the king on the 8th and 6 ranks.
But like you say, B3 is just a blunder, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. Has she found what she found? She found rook A3. Oh dear, this is going to be. I don't think you can get you can't have two chess lives in one day.
The tricks are still not over. Let's go h6. I mean, okay, she can go king f8, I guess, can she? But
what's wrong? b3.
I want to try and cause some tricky somehow.
b3?
I haven't decided yet.
Okay, that's fair enough.
You want to try and like create some threats. It's actually
enough.
not that easy to create threats, is it? Because even if you
I guess black always just
play that king f8 or move even move the f pawn, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I move the f pawn. I suppose
it's quite hard to get a mate threat on here, isn't it?
I think he just completely overlooked. He obviously just completely overlooked this rook c3 idea, and putting the rook on a1 exacerbated his problems by pinning. It was a nice mate. Thank you, official Dan, was spotted by Nick. It was a major issue putting the rook on a1 because this b3 just makes life so much harder for white.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, if the rook wasn't on a1, you could play rook b6, couldn't you? If you go back a couple of moves.
Yeah, of course. I think that's the idea. I think the point is that I think my brief sight of the engine was rook g1.
Let's say rook somewhere that's not a1. Yeah.
So let's say here and then here again.
Yeah, exactly the same. And then if rook a3, now you've got rook b6, haven't you?
Oh, see, exactly.
Yeah,
and then b3 obviously is no longer crushing because you've at least got some ways to potentially hang in the game.
Yeah, you want to exchange one of the pawns off anyway, don't you? You don't want.
Whereas as we join it, the GingerGM has understandably sunk somewhat.
She's got up.
She's got up.
For the first time. She's reversed.
Shaking hands already. Hopefully taking her off the board.
That's what I say. That's how when you're sort of feeling confident, you get up.
I said this earlier.
The whole game, she's been sitting back in her chair. Okay, come on. Where's the last? He found some tricks. By the way, found some tricks last time, didn't he?
I really hope she's not in her 30-day money back guarantee on those GingerGM DVDs. We're going to get a whole pile of them through the post saying like, this GingerGM. I mean, it's like, buy my stuff. This is awkward. More than awkward. This is damagingly awkward for Simon's prospects, both today and in the tournament.
Is there anything he can try here?
Yeah, let's try and I think she's feeling very
she has played very well at certain points.
She has played very well. She really,
that rook c3 idea was nice.
Stuff. Yeah, this I just can. It's hard to see that. Very nice, very nice. I think I think it's not just about the fundamental problems with this. There's not fundamental problems about. The fact is that not keeping the queens on as well now. It's not any. Problems for white. It's like that's what I say. Like
when there's only like one forcing line to find or one or two, the players can often find it. When they've got a choice of options, they're much more likely to go wrong, aren't they?
I mean, I think he definitely only played this because he missed his rook c3. Clearly, I mean, had he seen this rook c3, even though he would,
even rook takes bishop was fine as well.
Yeah, of course. So like he would have played queen d1 in a heartbeat. Yeah, but I think he played this thinking
that endgame is
dangerous. Bang. Maybe she sucked him in, the old rope-a-dope,
Yeah.
She he thought, I've seen more than you. So he thought queen takes, pawn takes. He didn't trust her.
Yeah, did you know how long
he should have trusted her?
Do you know how long he spent on this queen takes queen?
I think it's very quick. It seemed to happen all very quickly because, unfortunately we're getting the moves early. I don't know why. My feedback, maybe, I don't know why I'm not getting the move times up, but for some reason, but...
That was a massive decision. He should have really spent a few minutes.
I think he just didn't believe her, did he? Because I didn't see rook c3 and didn't believe her.
That was a massive decision whether to play queen takes queen or queen d1.
Queen d1. So we join the position now. All of a sudden, in a few moves' time, it's gone from it's gone from interesting to do I have any way whatsoever? Hard to out tactic youngsters, indeed. They're so sharp these days. Sharp players, but he did. He obviously just trusted himself, believed it. Maybe getting a bit tired. I imagine he's going to say he's a bit tired, but understandably, of course. But he just completely missed this rook c3 idea. Had he seen it, of course, or had he seen even rook takes f3, he would have played queen d1. He just didn't believe that she'd seen something after h5. Maybe, queen d1, and the game continues, doesn't it? And I think he's trying h6. Let's go back to live position. He's desperately trying. It's not going to work, is it? Potentially
back rank tricks.
But now her rook's on a3. So could she even go wrong? Really? I mean, I'm within reasonable parameters. I mean,
it's just hard to actually create a checkmate threat.
A sensible one, of course, where black's not going to defend against it somehow, whether by moving the f pawn or rook d8 or king f8, like you were saying, king f8.
But even if she goes king f8 now, it's it should be okay, shouldn't it? Just to
Or
take
B3
the threats
followed
away.
by, take the threats away sometimes, just play
B3 feels quite sensible.
B3 seems fine, and then let's just say B3, rook, sorry, not D6, obviously, rook B6, and then just king F8.
Yeah.
Seems like nothing.
You need to get the other rook into the attack, don't you, somehow?
Not a lot to be done there. I mean, I suppose we stop. I don't know, we don't stop anything. These 2 pawns are just too much, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, she's probably going to make rook takes A2.
Death Ride 89, the answer to your question is yes. We believe unreservedly black is winning. And we actually
someone in your chat called that early on, didn't they?
What, is black winning?
Didn't someone in the...
yeah, of course.
Peeps
Sheets was saying she's too good for him. Too good for him. B3 on the board, so she's not buying it. She's not buying what Simon's selling, basically. Not buying what you're selling, fear. You know.
Yeah. Not buying the GingerGM DVD.
It's a return policy that I'm more concerned about, Nick. You know.
Yeah.
Don't think we can afford any more. Joking, of course. High quality products here. Don't forget there is a massive sale on, up to 50% off, including works by this man here. GingerGM.com. Check it out. Have a little look. This is looking pretty grim. Yeah, she's not buying, and there she is, leaning as close to the board as she's got.
Yeah, she looks interesting.
He's on 3.5 out of 5. It seems hard to believe if you won't on 3.5 out of 6. This is a complete disaster, absolutely. What a shame from the well, payback time, isn't it? Calm as a, you know what? Awkward.
It's just so hard to get that A1 rook into the game. That's the problem. You need at least
we've got no file, we've got no prospect of any file, we've got nothing.
There's
no prospect of activity. We're playing, and we're not going to checkmate black with realism with this one lonely rook. I think she'll spot. Know, but I think she might spot that rook B6 comes with a 1 move threat. She's shown her ability to do that so far this game. Brilliant sort of fight by her, in fairness, you know. Absolutely brilliant fight. Just stay in there after, fighting hard, spending the time, maybe going wrong with rook c7. Very hard for Simon to take full advantage of it. But her grinding fight, she really regrouped well after playing rook c7. And she didn't panic after her. She may have been a bit discombobulated, but she didn't panic after.
She had that nice rook c6 move, didn't she?
It was clever as well. And then Simon responded not in the best form there. He seemed to be so concerned. It's funny how all game he was avoiding queen exchanges, whether they were good or not. And just at the key moment when he should have definitely avoided the queen exchange, objectively, he then missed this rook c3 idea earlier, and he should have definitely avoided the queen exchange again.
I think he also rushed rook a1 because
I think it was so discombobulated.
I think it was a bit of an ego thing. He wanted to sort of show, I've seen rook c3, even though he probably hadn't, as he played rook a1 straight away, and it was a crucial move.
It's a crucial move because according to what we saw briefly, well, it's certainly, however bad the situation was in this position, it was exasperated to the point of completely losing after rook a1.
Yeah, if he went somewhere else,
rook g1 apparently might have given white some sort of hope.
Yeah, definitely, because if you get the rook round to b6 before they take the a-pawn, and then
you said,
it's not over, is it?
It's not over at all. I mean, it's certainly fighting, but this rook a1 is just carnage. And so I think you're right. I mean, he'd really played. I think he definitely overlooked rook c3, understandable. But then the classic sort of ego, like, I've seen this, like, back at you. Yeah, exactly. It's not a problem. I'll just defend my a-pawn. And even I sort of said, by the calmness, I said that this is going to be a bad square for the rook without engine help, because it felt to me for the wrong reasons, by the way. I thought this rook was coming to a7. I appreciate it's not going to be the right rook, but this rook coming to the a file in combination with b3 was going to be the key. He did rush it.
Yeah,
I think
it's amazing how often you sort of make one mistake and then you
back up
overlook
something.
Because I think if they play a move that you're not expecting, you just gotta take stock and think about it.
Yeah, it's great, but people really want to hear advice, especially a coach of like a lot of talented players, and it's so important, isn't it? If someone does something you're not expecting, take a minute, to decide. If you're not sure, take a minute to decide. Don't, even if it's already gone, at least you can, fight. If it's not gone, you've got a chance to save it. If it's gone, it's gone. It doesn't matter how long you take.
Yeah, but
if it's not gone,
it's not
gone. Absolutely not. I don't think it was far from over. I think we're the suggestion is that putting the rook almost anywhere but a1, for example g1. I don't know why that's better than e1, but
just somewhere.
But either way, maybe they're the same. Maybe again, E1 might have some issues.
You might have G4, G5.
So you might have some.
It's probably not different.
I think the idea is probably primarily just don't put on A1.
Yeah.
Just don't
put on D1 either.
It's like anywhere but there.
Yeah.
Anywhere but there. You know, don't do anything to me.
Yeah.
Has anyone won all 6 rounds? Well, Abhijit Gupta, a former winner, was on 5 out of 5. Had the white pieces this afternoon, so quite possibly, but we don't know. And unfortunately, we're still in mourning to look around.
So should we have a quick look to see, is there anything at all?
Right. So
Is there any swindle possible? Is this the live position, is it?
I think this live position he's now thought for like 7 or 8 minutes. Not because he was surprised by B3, but maybe he's just shocked that she's got the disdain for this H6 move and like ignoring all your I think
it is quite hard for him to really create a threat here, isn't it?
Thank you, Lawrence. So obviously Abhijit Gupta definitely at least could done no better than a draw this afternoon, because he was on 5 and he may still be on 5 after defeating someone else leapfrogged him to 5.5. However, she's up again. I think she's trying to keep her emotions in check as well, maybe, you know? Maybe not trying to, she doesn't want to rush a stupid move. She knows she's got this one somewhat in the bag, or pretty much the bag. The only thing that she can do is somehow
stupid blunder.
Stupid, ridiculous blunder. It's very hard to see that though. All she has to do is, you know, there's not even a practical
let's
sense.
say rook b6. I mean, if she plays something like f5, that's probably not very accurate.
Excuse me. The mouse has even got slow and tired along with me. So
I was thinking, is that a possible blunder? Because then you got bishop h5, but even then you're probably still winning.
Even then, just king f8, just running away from dodge as well.
Rook e6 and then
okay, so you've got some moves. The mouse is decided.
Even this is like a suboptimal play. It still looks winning for black, doesn't it?
Yeah, but also, we're just trying to clutch against straws, because after rook b6,
she's going to play king
f8, and the king's coming out to e7. There's not even a sniff of a problem there that we can see.
Yeah.
It literally is. White doesn't even, like you said, white. The no activity of this rook.
King f8's the move, isn't it?
You can't really, absolutely, you can't realistically hope to get anything reasonable with one rook, and maybe half a bishop. But you know, if you know what I mean, in terms of its propensity to attack.
Yeah, struggling to find.
We're struggling to find anything here. At least this morning, you know, he had some swindling chances with the queen on the. Is c3 a threat? Maybe. I mean, it's like, I don't think black needs any more threats, does it? It's like,
probably just
that's got enough threats.
Rook a2 is probably the main.
Rook takes a2, you think, yeah? And then followed by the bishop b1, and then the c pawn just comes down the board. So the c pawn will join the party, Mickey decay eventually, but it doesn't necessarily need to join the party straight away. Any moves? Simon looks like, I think Simon's contemplating.
He's trying to find a last swindle, I think he's looking for. But he's struggling to find one.
And there is the reason he's struggling to find one. There isn't one. What a day, and what a sad, what appears to be a sad finish to proceedings. He's played e4.
Yeah, he's trying something.
Well, you've got to put something on the board, haven't you? And like, I don't know, baby. Let's just find out what's the simplest way for black. I'm not even sure what that does, but why not b2 here? Why not b2?
Yeah, looks. Rook b6.
Ooh,
the bishop's hanging anyway. Even if she blunders, actually still winning. It's actually because
is that right?
The bishop on f3 is hanging. Yeah.
So like, right. So like, this is actually as I've fallen in for it. There you go. See me. It's been a long day. That's what I'm saying. I've kind of falling into blundering something else.
Even this is probably winning. Like, king f8. Or...
The game felt like Simon was closing in for a win an hour ago. Well, so this might be
even king f8 winning the bishop.
Really?
The bishop.
Yeah, wins the bishop. So.
Yeah, so you found a blunder.
I found a blunder, yeah, of course. Like, a long day. So what's the best move? It's king f8 again, or just ignore everything? King f8 again?
Probably king f8 sensible.
With the threat of b2, of course, where we're at least forcing white to give up the rook for our passed pawn.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing about Simon. You know, he does keep the tricks going, doesn't he?
There's another trick there with e4. Yeah, just trying to Beta in. I mean, there might be other ways to. What about Rook A2? Is that? Am I blundering something else here? Like, take and then Rook A6.
Yeah, then you sit back in.
And then back in some sort of like game, isn't it? So we're thinking King F8 is the comfortable way to handle this. She's keeping her composure, isn't she? She's got respect. She knows. And there she goes. Damn it! He's going to shake her hand, isn't he?
She found it. Yeah.
He played King F8. Yeah. She kept her composure.
He's not happy about that, is he?
No.
That's the last of his tricks done.
The last is like, yeah. And there's no more back rankers. King E7 coming out. B2 is very much on the cards as an immediate win of White's Rook
B6,
from A1.
Rook B6. I don't know. I don't really believe it.
Well, no, of course we don't believe it. Let's just look at that. So Rook B6.
Rook A2 and then
takes A2
Rook E1 or something.
Yeah, okay. So I think that's probably what's going to happen. By the way,
he's got to try something.
And then B2 though, unfortunately, of course, is like it's
because you actually queen and prevent the mate at the same time. Yeah.
Maybe I'm just thinking, yeah,
it's just over, isn't it?
It should be. I said that this morning though, but it's hard to believe the dynamics aren't really.
So she's very careful, this player, isn't she?
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, how was the morning game? I mean, I know.
Well, he was fine until he just just was one quick move. He was down to 3 minutes at the second time control, so he just missed something, you know. Also, like the move he could have played was winning, but he did actually have to give up his extra knight in order to do it, you know. So it was like kind of like he blundered, of course. No, just simple blunder, but not simple blunder, but he just blunder. But the alternative wasn't exactly. Simon made it very tricky. Well, you know, White should have handled it better, but Simon did make it very tough. We hope he'll bounce back tomorrow. Everyone has a bad day once in a while. It certainly hasn't been a great day, and you know, Cassius Paribus, he could have easily ended up losing this morning. So, but a payback. Unfortunately, this situation here looks desperate, even in terms. We know it's desperate in terms of any swindling chances. Very unfortunate. This rushed move. Queen takes B4, followed by the rush move. Rook A1. Queen takes B4. He overlooked Rook C3. And then not then just responding like as you said, maybe an ego thing or just like the thing of like, oh yeah, I've seen this. I'll just play Rook A1.
Yeah, it's also two long games in a day as well. It's
not easy.
Someone said in the chat.
Age catches up with us all, doesn't it, Nick?
It definitely does. Yeah, we passed our best years are behind us here.
Speak for yourself, sir. Speak for yourself.
Your best year was 1992 or 1993.
Oh, whenever I beat you, I don't remember.
It was all downhill after that.
No, it was all downhill. The thing is, I don't even remember beating you so long ago, even if it did happen. You're saying it's true. Maybe it's true. I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. I just had this in my mind.
No, that's very kind of you. Mickey DeCat, 46. Is that? I don't even know how old I am anymore. No, I'm 46. So there we go. Yeah. I am the same age, I believe. Do you think Stockfish could win this for White? Nope.
I mean, the thing.
I think I could beat Magnus from here with Black.
But
by the way.
Sometimes you're better off actually not having a computer because you need to try and think of something over the board, whereas the computer will just
tell you it's losing. Tell
you a way that loses. Basically,
we were both very hopeful early. I think we had reason to be hopeful early. Simon definitely, even we possibly over-evaluated. Well, I certainly over-evaluated his position after fracturing the kingside pawns, but it was definitely still White was for choice comfortably. White was still. White was still in a better position. It wasn't quite as strong, certainly as I thought it was, but it was still White was definitely in a better position. So we had reason to be hopeful, I believe, just from an objective evaluation, chess, position point of view. But we had reasons. It turns out, it's always gets, as we know, chess is an unforgiving game, and as his opponent found out this morning, all these hours of hard work can be undone by one misstep. And Simon just had two missteps here. One, Queen takes B4 because he overlooked Rook C3.
Yeah.
And also Rook takes F3, but also this Rook A1 which he played in haste because I strongly believe he missed Rook C3. I mean, it's an easy move to miss Rook C3.
It was the ego thing, wasn't he? He just didn't take his time after Rook C3 came.
Yeah. And even then it was going to be Black was the choice already, so then. But so Queen D1, he may really have even had, keeping the queens on. That's so amazing. He tried to keep the queens on all game, and obviously, when he decided to do it, it was E4, King F8, Rook, B6. I imagine Rook A6 probably wouldn't help matters. It might be his best punt. Rook A6 might be his best shot.
You're underestimating his opponent.
No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm saying that any other move has no chance. So let's maybe put the Rook here. And then, like for choice, you know, and then I know Simon wouldn't do this. But I'm just thinking, I'm not underestimating the opponent. I'm just saying that this is losing, so why not just go here and hope she personally thinks it's on B6. Actually put on A6, but, you know, actually play this move and then sort of like, you know, it's like rook B6, isn't it? Not standing, of course, but it's rook B6. So. Anyway, I believe.
What do you think she's going to play then? You think rook takes pawn?
Rook B6. Sorry, live position. He has gone rook b6. So what do I think she's going to play?
Rook a2. He's going to try rook e1 probably, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
But then just b2.
No, it's b2.
Maybe go e takes d and try to... If black queens, just take it and play an exchange down. Although you lose quite a lot though, don't you? You probably lose more than exchange, don't you?
Let's pass c-pawn. I mean, is there an easier way for this? Surely isn't. There must be an easier way for black to do this.
And black can take on e4, I guess, at some point as well.
Maybe now.
Yeah. Just win those two
I
central pawns.
Just win this now, yeah?
Yeah.
Wants to attack the bishop.
Rook e1.
Well, maybe he's got some.
It's worth a try.
It's all worth a try, absolutely. And by the way, March, again, I agree with that. Stockfish is definitely worse at swindling than humans against humans because it makes the best moves, not the most tricky moves. So yeah, but of course, yeah. So that's true. If you put it in if you put Stockfish, that's true. Actually, I've said this before. I can beat Stockfish a queen up from the starting position. The reason being is I'll just exchange off pieces gradually, and it would make the best move. So I might even exchange a rook for a bishop, just to start to gradually erode my material advantage. Stockfish will always take this because it's considered to be the best move, but a human would never do this. Stockfish should keep the material on. So exactly correct. It doesn't use psychology and it doesn't use the ideas that there's no point in going into a king and pawn endgame which is losing a pawn down. You'd be better off keeping your last piece on the board. Just to even if you've got a rook and I've got a queen, it's got more chance of being with the rook on than allowing me to give up the queen for the rook until winning king and pawn endgame. But Stockfish's valuation will improve, so it will allow this to happen. So it's absolutely correct, by the way.
You got to look for things that could go wrong for your opponent, don't you? And try and give them that option.
This is not off topic at all, Kingstar 1875. I know this is off topic, but is Nick Pert available for singles in the UK? If so, could you send me? No, I think it's genuine. Okay. Could you send me a whisper of details of how to contact Nick?
Yeah, of course.
Do you want to say how they can contact you, or do you not want to broadcast?
Send me a message, send me an email if you like.
Well, do you want to give out your email?
I think you can find it on the. There's like an ECF coaches page, English Chess Federation coaches page.
Public knowledge, you don't just want to tell him. Why don't you just tell him what your email is? It's public knowledge. It's up to you.
You can you can email me on that one if you like.
We'll drop you a whisper. I mean,
okay,
we'll do that now. Let's do that now for you. We'll do that now. I don't know how to do that. Pin this message, click to reply. I don't know how. By the way, we don't know how to do this. There you go. Type this in there, Nick. There you go. Kingstar.
I think you're just feeling a bit confident after watching this analysis. He thinks.
Oh, he's obviously
good chance to beat a GM.
There you go. We send that now. There you go. We sent that to you now, Kingstar. It's certainly not off topic. Obviously, part of the reason we're here is to, thanks very much. Obviously, you're very welcome. I'll be missing something though. The game's still going on, of course. Part of the reason is Nick is a professional player, and again, part of the reason he's here is to, be available for coaching, etc., and things like that. And he's, does need to make a living as everyone does in life. So all these things are.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So,
and by the way, Black has indeed, I believe, played the very calm D takes E4.
Oh, she's like ice cool now, isn't she?
She's not. As I say, whatever he's selling, she's not buying. Yeah. Not buying it at all. So there we go. Very welcome, Kingstar. Not a problem, pas a problem, as they say in certain languages, which I'm not aware of. So this is now,
Rookie one.
It's getting worse. Well, I got to try that. And even if she touches the pawn accidentally, she can still maybe go to E3 and. I think he's just timing his rookie one. Ivanchuk is playing, by the way. Yes, top seed. He was on, I believe, 3.5 out of 4. Not sure how he did in rounds 5 and 6.
Yeah, it's just so hard to see any swindling opportunities, isn't it?
So there we go. It's hard to see. Yeah, it's very hard. It's running out. I think he's just waiting. So 5 out of 6, actually. I think he's just waiting to pull the rookie one trigger. He doesn't want to rush it because you might,
He's looking at
she might smell a rat, just trying to bluff her again. So
she's not gonna. Yeah,
no, he's not gonna fight. He's not gonna fall for anything now. I suspect she's too good, too composed. Here it goes. There you go, Nick.
Did you play it?
Yeah, of course you did.
The last of the cheapos.
The last of the cheapos, actually. Thing is, even if she touches her e-pawn, it's probably still alright for her. She would probably survive by oops.
Yeah.
Obviously, touching the bishop wouldn't be quite a great.
But then you could trade off on b3. You might be able to survive. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, so we're not going to do this anyway. I think it's like, What's the best? So what are we playing here as black?
Rook d4 is quite simple.
Oh,
but you could just play b takes a2, I guess, and that should be quite strong.
Yeah.
Then bishop takes e4, and then
we just got to be going. Can we just queen or is that? But then we're
losing.
We've got to like. Yeah.
You don't really want to give that away.
No, you don't want to give that away. So we're thinking.
You could just play bishop. You could just play bishop takes bishop, and then rook d8. I guess that's still weird.
But you're thinking rook takes d4 is the.
It's probably the
keeps this rook again. It just absolutely keeps his rook out of proceedings, doesn't it?
Yeah,
again, all the files.
Then you can take on b3, I guess. It could be.
James, what I know is I'm 22.34, and Nick's 25.50 or something ridiculous like that.
Not quite that high.
Okay.
F5 is good as well. Yeah, F5 is actually a nice move, actually.
No, they're saying.
Because it threatens the bishop. But actually, if you could just go.
And it gives the king square as well, so F5. She's going to play F5.
You could play pawn takes pawn, bishop takes bishop. Sorry, you could play b takes a2. Sorry.
You could. Sorry, let's go back.
You could play b takes a2, bishop take, and then just take the bishop, and then
F5.
Yeah.
Well, rook f6. I know then we're blocking, so it still requires a tiny bit of calculation.
You could just go to rook d8. I was thinking rook d8 was my first.
Okay.
Actually.
Rook d8. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, of course. Yeah. So of course.
Yeah, I don't know.
Of course.
There are probably a little bit of.
But I think fun enough, I know we are talking about any which way to win without going wrong. But I like this F5 move, by the way, because it avoids any. Well, then again, have we got this? No, it doesn't quite work, of course, but maybe. And there are many ways to win.
You never know, though. Yeah, you never know. He's still punty.
Yeah, you've got to find. Just trying to find a way in which it doesn't go horrifically wrong.
Yeah, F5 bishop H5 is true.
Well, there's nothing, is it? But it's like because the king's always coming out this way, isn't it?
Then rook e6 coming.
Oh, rook e6. We never give up. Of course, we know that black's winning. There are many ways. We just want to find a way. What's happened here? So, I'm sorry. What did she play? She played rook d8. There you go, Nick.
Oh, rook d8.
It's gone bishop takes e4, but I'm not sure how this is.
Yeah, what's his idea after bishop takes bishop?
I don't know what his idea is after bishop takes, but resigns. I don't know.
Is he going to take on b3?
I guess so, but it's not. I don't see how that. No, who knows? No, so if we're giving up, he's been at the board for like I've lost count of how many hours it's now. Like 40 minutes.
Maybe he's going to take on b3, is he? After bishop takes bishop.
Yeah, and pawn takes. Oh, let's look at it. But bishop takes pawn to pawn takes, obviously. Yeah,
but then we can just play rook takes bishop.
Oh, sorry. So, okay, yeah. I'm going. My elo's about 800 and falling. By the way, thanks for asking.
Yeah, because if you take back the bishop, they just go b takes a2. Simon's a tricky guy, isn't he? He just keeps it going somehow or other. I mean, I guess she's toying between bishop takes bishop. Well, there's a few moves here, isn't there?
This is
rook
not
e8,
so.
b takes a2.
Know, maybe like something.
No, but b takes a2 doesn't feel that nice, does it? I don't really like that.
So obviously, we just say, well, this might be the way forward. B takes, bishop takes, queen.
Yeah, but the h7 pawn's dropping there, isn't it?
No, of course, yeah. There's always, and this, as I've said this earlier, I've said this so many times in recent proceedings. Having the pawn so close to queening is always quite awkward for the opponent.
I wouldn't really want to do that. Actually.
I wonder what's going on here. So what's the live move? So bishop takes e4 being played. So
I think he's going to take on b3, isn't he?
Yeah, I would have thought so. I was just wondering, after rook takes...
Yeah, and then it's just to move the bishop. Yes, he somehow avoided losing instantly. Rook d8 was probably not very accurate, was it?
I was thinking, hold on, I had an idea. What about c3?
Really?
Yeah.
I'll take your bishop.
I'll go c2. I got rook c8, rook c6. No, I'll go here first.
Yeah, I feel like you're kind of making this a lot more complicated.
Okay,
one, isn't it?
Okay, right, okay. So rook takes e4. Rook takes e4.
No, did he play rook takes e4 really? Oh, I mean that's just crazy, yeah.
What's the idea behind this?
Why did he do that?
She's reaching for the queen. Why did he do this?
Oh my goodness.
What? What? Oh, what was the problem with this idea?
Yeah, I thought that gives him some chances. Okay, she's got a piece for 2 pawns, but
what's the trick? What's his trick after rook takes, pawn takes rook b7? This is not gonna fly, is it, Nick?
no, it's not going to work. She's just going to get a queen, and then he's going to try rook e7. I was going to go for rook f4, but
He's got to go for rook f4 to stop rook f3, obviously. Yeah, he's going to I can spot that.
Yeah, but it's just not going to work, is it?
It's not going to fly. I mean, yeah.
I guess
the problem is like queen takes.
You can just move a king.
What about queen takes d4?
Yeah, queen takes d4.
Yeah, so queen.
Oh no, queen takes b4, rook takes queen. Yeah. Oh no, the king's on f8 still. Sorry.
Yeah, so I got this way now. So obviously after rook takes, we've got to go king g8, and then we just sacrifice the queen.
Yeah.
For the rook, be a whole rook to the good, and the king's on f8. So there's no back rank.
You should have tried pawn takes b3.
What's that? I just want to put the engine on very quickly, so I'm getting. It's late in the day. What happens after a takes b3? Why is this so?
I mean, it's still bad, isn't it?
Is it? Yeah. Okay. Rook takes b3. Not even so. How many pawns have we got?
Then you go rook takes rook and rook takes bishop. Is that b pawn queening somehow?
Obviously it is, yeah.
How?
Okay, so rook takes.
Well, okay, I mean, it is, yeah, but I mean.
Takes.
Oh, because you got rook e8.
Oh, that's craft, isn't it?
That's not completely obvious.
That's not completely obvious at all, actually.
Yeah.
I'm so surprised you didn't play. I'm very surprised by this rook.
Rook d8 didn't look right. If you go back, I'm sure rook d8 there was a better move than rook d8.
In which position, sorry?
Back one more move. Yeah, B takes a2.
Well, your idea of rook takes d4 apparently is also because it just blocks everything out, doesn't it? And it stops any opening up of the e file, etc.
Yeah, that's probably the safest, isn't it?
There we go.
And he's still trying his tricks of queen down, isn't he? He did the queen sack in a different way.
Rook a6 you played.
Goodness, well.
Is that right? She played? Oh, it probably doesn't ruin anything, but it doesn't ruin anything at all, of course.
Wow.
It's still a bit strange.
By
the way, it's the best move as well.
Oh,
it's unbelievable. According to the end, I'll take it off, but it's the best move. Rook a6, by the way. What was my idea of running into something bad? By the way, just let me find out. Because did I complete one more blunder in my? So I wanted queen, and then rook f4, and then queen takes d4 was my plan. And it is winning, but it's just winning very quick. It's not maybe the best way, but it's definitely still winning. Let's go to the live position. Let's watch the live moves coming in. Rook a6, rook f4, rook takes a6 check, king g2, and now queening will threaten mate as well. So the king could just run to h8. Yeah, and there's the handshake. He's going to be very disappointed with that. Congratulations to his opponent, obviously. Very disappointing. Rook 8 was hard to find, all as people were saying. This idea of just queening this pawn. Very much a computer line again. You know, he could have kept fighting. What a game. And she must be absolutely thrilled. Simon will both be tired and obviously disappointed. Unlucky indeed. Well, what a day. We've had some ups and some downs. Always. Well done. Peeps Be Sheeps is still here. I predicted her to win. So, but you know what? Do you know what?
Well done.
Fair play, absolutely. Congratulations, Peeps Be Sheeps. She did play incredibly well. She showed so much resilience, so much resourcefulness, so much resilience.